if it just starts a new one.
Hang
Or
on,
it's saying we're live.
Wait, failed to post to Facebook. Here's what. No, fuck it, whatever. Don't care. Yeah. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, we're on YouTube at least. Fuck it, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome.
Yeah, we're live.
Welcome to another one of these things. Today, I'm talking to Ryan History Daddy Day, who is he was a YouTuber. I don't know where his fucking videos went.
All right. Okay. So, work got in the way, and now book got in the way. I will admit.
Okay. Well, I'm going to bully you back into that.
Yeah.
I don't know what asshole would bully someone into writing a book. That sounds terrible. But he also provided a bunch of voices for the Smokepit Fairytales novels. Most recently, what is it? Friggin' the Prime Minister of Avalon, Ramsay, which fucking great villain with him, and then a couple of the space pirates. But yeah, I really enjoyed your portrayal on those. It seemed like you had a lot of fun with those, especially like when they come up and you get in the bloopers and it's like, here's my lines 14 more times because I want to say them. Like he wouldn't say that like that.
I think my favorite, I think you posted the blooper was just me trying to do an Australian accent, and I kept losing the Aussie accent, so I just was going arse, arse, arse in different variations of between Texan and like different like portions of Australia to try and get the right one.
That was when you were playing Yorick in the fourth book, and it was funny because like the way it's set up, it's like Mars is kind of like just like most of the Five Eyes fucking people. It's primarily American, but it's all the Five Eyes people. So
yeah,
for those of you that don't know, that's what the U.S., Canada, UK, New Zealand, and Australia. And I was like, as long as you're a native English speaker accent, I don't care what fucking voice you use. Yeah. And all the Brits involved were like, I want to be an Australian. That wasn't just you.
It was just an automatic. We immediately went, I want to be an Aussie, mate. I want to say good day.
Yeah, no, and it's funny because the lady that played Okan, Diane Spencer, she's English too. And it was funny because like and this is in the bloopers for book 4, but it's halftime. She's like, I'm saying this in Aussie, blah blah blah. Let me slip into Cockney real quick. Wait, no, back up.
Oh, I've lost signal already.
Have you?
There you go. No, I can hear you again.
Okay.
I can hear you, but you stopped moving. There we go. That's fine.
Well, Hammock's over here saying history needs to stop touching.
I know exactly who that is.
History. Why aren't you defending democracy and freedom?
I'll play Helldivers later.
Although
this is what happens when for those of you who aren't from Count's Discord watching, Count Daedalus' Discord is very wild, and so I've invited them all to join the stream, so you'll see some interesting comments.
No, speaking of defending democracy, fucking things have been spicy. I don't know what they're like over there, but we've been having these No Kings fucking protests, and everyone's like, I hate America. I'm gonna migrate to the UK, and it's like, buddy,
right,
guy, the memes write themselves.
Until about a year ago, I knew sweet fuck all about American history. And then my friend demanded I watch this show called Yellowstone. And if you've seen any of my pictures recently, I'm always in a cowboy hat and a long leather coat. Yellowstone remolded my brain. I am now obsessed, absolutely obsessed with the entire aesthetic of history. And that has actually raised me to look into American history. And so when I saw these No Kings protests happening, I was like, hang on. Most of your history has been some form of dictatorship. I'm going to be brutally honest. Like Trump is probably the least dictator-esque president post World War II. Like post World War II.
Well, the thing with it though is like while it has been some level of tyrannical all the way going back, Abraham Lincoln being the worst tyrant we ever fucking had, and I'll tangent on that one, but excuse me.
That's it. I thought he was going to say because I hate Woodrow Wilson. I will speak for a year. And a half
different reasons, but yeah, him also. But the thing is, though, is like they're duly elected tyrants, and if we don't like them, we just push them out and get a new one. And everyone's like, the government can't have this power. And it's like, well, we keep voting for them to have more power. So whose fault is this? Not trying to be an asshole here, but people have the government they deserve.
The thing is, as well, it's not like in the UK where we're going full Soviet Union with like, yes, you will have the digital ID and you will like it, comrade.
But you guys knew that 1984 wasn't an instruction manual, right?
Oh, like, no,
he's wrote that.
George Orwell is like could generate enough power to power Scotland so that they could actually do independence successfully. Like that is George Orwell is spinning in his grave. I mean, not as much as Tolkien with his works being desecrated, but
Yeah.
The whole factoid is at least with like love or hate Trump. Okay, I'm gonna be the political neutral guy here. Love or hate?
Well,
Trump.
you're English, so you don't know what you're talking about anyway. You just whatever the fuck you want.
Yeah, you know, because the Twitter doesn't exist, so I can't look. Yeah. You know, but the thing is, he is doing a large portion of what he said he would do to get elected. Release the Epstein files, you dipshit. But he's doing a large portion of what he was elected to do. Labour with the digital ideas was not in their manifesto. It was not anything. And I don't know how it is with US politics. I don't know how it is with US politics, but when in the UK, if it's not in the manifesto, people kick off. And the digital ideas was not in the manifesto. It was in Tony Blair's, but before I'm going to completely derail this.
Was it Tony Blair like 25 fucking years ago, dude?
Yeah, but he's still.
Didn't he get elected in like 97?
He's somehow here. He's just somehow he just pops up like Ramsey. Spinning it back to the book, he just pops up like Ramsey's like, hello. But yeah,
no, Tony Blair's still hanging out. I didn't know that.
Yeah, he's gonna be president of Gaza or something now. Apparently, I've seen that in the news.
Well, one of the other things I think is funny about Tony Blair is like, you know, I only knew him, you know, growing up because he was hanging out with George Bush, and I just assumed that he was whatever your guys' version of Republicans were. And then it wasn't like years later where it's like, oh, he's like their fucking like Obama.
Huh. He's definitely not our, but he's more like our Mitt Romney if Mitt Romney was successful.
Mm-hmm.
But Crystal just said Tony Blair is the ghost of Christmas past for British politics. I've never heard a more accurate description. It's so fucking spot on.
Everything used to be so awesome. Didn't you have a nice Christmas? Oh man, it's almost time to start watching that shit again.
I have a family tradition of. By the way, we said Ramsey's name and moved straight on. That is peak trip podcast. We said Ramsey's name, no. I have a family tradition with family where we all sort of gather around and we watch the Muppets Christmas Carol every Christmas Eve. Even when I was in uni and I was like living on my own, I would still sit down at the same time they would, so I could watch the Muppets Christmas Carol.
That's fine. Is that one your favorite one then?
Yeah, I would say it's the best rendition, really. The Jim Carrey one's like, it's okay if
I didn't like the Jim Carrey one.
Like Uncanny Valley. Yeah. It's Uncanny Valley is like anything.
The thing with the Christmas Carol, though, is like there's been like a fucking 100 of them. Like Ebenezer Scrooge is up there with Sherlock Holmes and Dracula as far as like we're just going to keep making this movie. Although my personal favorite one's the one with George C. Scott.
Imagine Christmas Carol featuring Sherlock Holmes and Dracula.
I'm sure it's out there somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, there's a Pride and Prejudice and Zombies, which is I know it sounds cringe.
I read it.
I'll defend that film. I defend that film. I've not read the book, but I will defend the film.
I haven't seen the movie. I read the book. I thought it was trash. I bought it because I was like, I'm going on a plane. I need something to read. This looks hilarious. Can you stop?
See, the film knows what it is. The film knows what it is, whereas the book is still that little level of pretentious. Whereas the film's like, I know I'm trash, so just have fun. Just have fun. Here's a 15-minute section of a bunch of women swashbuckling zombies. Like that. Like the film knows what it is. And Darcy, there's a scene where Darcy's like sitting there. He pulls out this bottle of flies. He's like, "Carrion flies, Mom," and it's like plays out like a regular Pride and Prejudice movie. And it like sitting there, it's like, "Oh, don't be bothered by the buzzing. It's when they stop buzzing." And then it like lands on a zombie, and he smashes a glass and like starts decapitating this zombie in front of all of these women. And I would like, this is why I watched this movie. This is batshit insane. So the movie is like better.
There's a movie I want to see that I don't know if it's going to exist or not. And the reason I say that is it was a preview when I went to go see the new Spinal Tap movie. And I haven't been able to find anything about it online.
Is this Primal War?
No.
It's sick.
What's the show that all the chicks like? Downton Abbey? They've had a few
I
movies.
like Downton Abbey, but
So they had a preview for a movie that was making fun of that. And if you're an American, you would have called it Fackham Hall. But since they're, posh British people, it's fuck 'em all.
Yeah.
And they're going around, making Downton Abbey like Last Action Hero kind of fucking like satire jokes. And me and my wife were like, that looks hilarious. Went to go find the preview again. Cannot find a fucking trace of this fucking movie online. So I think it might have just been like a joke trailer because you're watching,
Maybe.
Spinal Tap anyway.
Yeah, they could have just put it in as a little edit. Although maybe they'll make that. It wouldn't be the first time a meme joke trailer has been put out.
No, because like that's how we got Machete, because that was originally a joke trailer for the Grindhouse movies, and then everybody's like, okay, so Danny Trejo needs to be in this movie where he's just going around killing people with a machete.
Yeah.
And then
Danny Trejo is amazing. Danny Trejo, I tell you what, would Danny Trejo make an interesting live action Ramsey, or is he too old?
No, he'd be too old. Like for the character Ramsey in Smokepit Fairytales, I was imagining like, a leaner, dumbass Schwarzenegger.
I should have done an Austrian accent.
Like not big jack dude, but like tall, but like buck teeth, kind of like got a weird face.
Yeah.
But like not, Arnie.
Yeah, I get what you mean. Like, so like if Arnie took Ozempic
and only did cardio.
Yeah.
Yeah. Instead of lifting. Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah.
I must be. I do enjoy playing. I do enjoy the characters of all of them. I don't mind playing like people like Tom. Like Tom's very interesting, but he is quite. I want to say noble, but I think he's just very pragmatic.
Yeah.
Whereas playing
playing
the villains, I do like how I can just get absolutely batshit insane in some of them. The only way to describe it is like sometimes when I'm voicing the villains, I feel like I'm living in the head of Ozzy Osbourne.
Yeah. Yeah. Shit. I should have named this fucking thing a chat with Ryan History Daddy today. Rest in peace, Ozzy Osbourne. In memory.
In memorial.
Ozzy Osbourne. Yeah. Dude, I can't believe it, man. It's been more than 12 hours since he's been dead.
Yeah. I can't believe it. Yeah. He's fun fact. All on Twitter, all of the Satanists be like, he's going down. He's one of the brothers, and then all of the Christians were like, he's been Christian for like the last 15 years. Like he converted, and he's like hardcore. Like
dude, I read this story where somebody was talking about one of his fans brought him like a custom made like Ozzy Osbourne Bible, and his son Jack was talking about how like everybody gives Ozzy just everything, and 99% of the time he just waits for that person to leave and like hands it off to somebody else.
Yeah.
But apparently he got like really excited about that Bible and like made everybody come like look at it. And then like they were about to get on a plane. He's like, fuck, I forgot the Bible at the hotel. I got to go back and get it. And they're like, but we're going to miss the plane. It's like, I don't care. I'll get another one.
Yeah, well, if you're that rich, it's like getting a bus. Like, oh man, I missed my plane. It's fine. I can pay another one. I paid for another one in 10 minutes. If you're rich enough, you can pay for them to hold the plane.
Yeah.
You're like, I'll just hold up air traffic. I'm rich enough. I would be a nightmare if I was filthy rich. I would be an absolute nightmare. Because I would like, I would be like Mansa Musa levels of charity giving where I would derail economies. Mm-hmm. And then I would also I would also be an absolute rich prick where I'd be like, yeah, no, I'm going to buy the entire plane out. You could take the next one. Also, here's 10 grand just because I feel bad. Like I would be like, all of those movies where it's like the split, like the good hero, the Two-Face from Batman.
Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde.
Yeah. I'd be like Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, like Two-Face, the Hulk, and all that. It would definitely be a Jekyll and Hyde situation because I'd be doing really nice things because I'd feel like it, and then at the same time, I'd be like, wait a minute, I'm rich. Why am I doing?
Yeah. No, but to go back to it though, I think it's kind of funny because like Ozzy and Sabbath have this image that they have, right? But like after every show, Ozzy Osbourne, he'd say it by "God bless you all, I love you all, good night," and I can make a fucking solid argument for at least Ozzy era Sabbath being Christian rock.
Yeah,
I listen to the lyrics.
I think definitely at one point he definitely went down a bit of a dark path. You know, when he bit the bat's head off, he wasn't exactly in his Christian phase, but he definitely.
Well, he wasn't doing that for Satan. He was doing that because cocaine.
Yeah. He was doing that because it's not just cocaine. It was everything. Have you seen that clip where Sharon Osbourne is just talking to one of their kids, and then Ozzy comes out of nowhere. He goes, "Where's my beer?" And she goes, "No one's drunk your beer. You drunk the beer. You're the beer." And he just goes, beer. It's like his brain is just about functioning like beer. I think honestly it is amazing he lived as long as he did, given what he put his body through.
I remember somebody somewhere did like a blood test on him. They're like, yeah, so this guy's actually a genetic freak, and he's not more Neanderthal than he is Homo sapien, but like he's got a lot more Neanderthal than most people do.
That's probably why he was able to tank like the severe amounts of acid that he dropped when he was younger. That's one easy way to become Christian. You're definitely going to see God. Do not do acid to see God. That is not a biblical thing.
Yeah, just go to church.
yeah, go to church. Go to church. Don't drop acid.
Yeah,
that's going to be that's going to be clipped. That's going to be just clip the go to church bit. I like that. Oh no.
Yeah. No, but the other thing about Ozzy though is like even when he was sober and not brain dead, going back with, you know, if you look at, you know, clips or interviews from, you know, decades and decades ago, he's got that. I don't know what you would call it, but I rationalize that if I had to name it, I'd call it Hillbilly Birmingham, to where base level is like, you guys all sound like you need some help with the brain cell department anyway, but it's just because of how they speak. It's like worse Cockney.
I would not say to a Cockney their level of brain cells, and I would not feel safe doing so. I'll let you do that. There's
my country was founded on this kind of thing, right?
Yeah, I'm fairly certain. I actually saw an evolution of like the Cornish accent to hillbilly, where like just sort of like where it goes along, you can actually trace the evolution of the different American accents. There's an island where they still speak Elizabethan English, I think, in America.
Yeah, it's off the coast of Virginia, and if you go deep into Virginia, not the deep south, which I would like to talk about their linguistics here in a minute, but if you go like inland Virginia, where everyone talks like they're in a Civil War movie, blah blah blah.
Yeah,
like that's just slowed down posh English.
Yeah, there's the southern accent, the evil mustache twiddling accent from the deep south, where the white man would rule from sovereignty. Like that is just
it's just slow Victorian.
Yeah, it's just a really, really hammered Victorian just sitting there and being like, "Oh, I can't find the toilet." Like,
no, it's funny because like every time you're every once in a while you'll be driving around, you know, go down south a little bit, and you'll listen to the radio, and you know, there'll be some talk radio on, and you're listening to something, and you're like, okay, so this was recorded in England and brought back over. It's like, all right, and you know, I'm Stacey Williams from Fairfax, Virginia. You have a good night. And it's like, what? Oh, all right.
I must admit, it is the more Southern American accent is definitely my favorite.
Yeah,
I really, really enjoy the Southern drawl, and I believe this is in one of the later books. Admittedly, choosing to do that for an entire character was probably one of the dumbest decisions I ever made, because I can do it. Because I can do the accent perfectly for about 15 minutes, but by hour 3 of recording those lines, my throat felt on fire. Like, it was like I was chewing razor blades whenever I spoke. Yeah. And I was like, how do they do this permanently? And this hurts.
Well, there's two things with that accent though. Like once you get into, say, Mississippi, Alabama, Louisiana, and all that, one of them is it's still that slow Victorian drawl, except for you got it mixed in with French. So
Cajun is a really good accent.
But also, I don't know what the thing for it is in Celsius, but it's routinely 105 degrees there Fahrenheit with 100% humidity heat index. It's too damn fucking hot to talk fast.
I watch a guy called Count Dankula a lot. Not to be confused with Count Daedalus, who has also voiced over the book. Count Dankula is a Scottish fellow.
Gamer move.
Yeah. He's a Scottish fellow. And he was saying how he went to Texas a few years ago, and he was like, he had to take 2 showers a day because his body just couldn't cope with the cold. But what's really funny is all the Texans were laughing that I can't handle the heat. You take a Texan and you plop them in the Highlands of Scotland, they're not lost. I've seen what happens when there's a light snowfall in Texas. That entire state shuts down.
It does. and not even a light snowfall, just like a good frosting.
Yeah. Like I will admit, there's definitely parts of America that can handle
cold. Not much.
Sorry, go on.
Oh no, we got the full gambit because like what?
We crossed our signals crossed for a second. I think we mismatched each other. Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, because I was gonna say like where I'm at, it's routinely -20 in the winter.
Yeah, I think it's
but
like
I'm like a 2-hour drive to Canada, so
yeah. You're quite close to the frost Americans.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna lie. It has always amazed me that America just hasn't annexed Canada at any point in this history.
Well, it's weird though, because like now Canadians will argue with this until they're blue in the face, but if you take an objective look at it, Canada's identifying marker is not Americans.
Yeah. Like, sorry, Canada. I know you're a former colony and you were loyal, but yeah.
No, and I like Canadians. I love them mostly because they're Americans that pronounce weird.
Yeah, the Canadians are kind of how the Southern American states are slow Victorian. Canadian is slow Scottish. If you go about it here, right? If you about it here, what are you doing, laddie? And then you slow that down. That is how about that.
Which is kind of funny because like when Europeans were moving over here in mass in the 1700s, it was almost all Scots-Irish into like North and South Carolina, Virginia, that area, which is why so many of them are Presbyterians. But then you had like Germans coming in for most of the fucking northern shit, like Pennsylvania, New York, all that stuff, and then like English into New England. Which, fun fact about New England, and this isn't really a fun fact, it's just a conversation I had that I thought was funny. I was talking to one of my Irish buddies, and I was talking about how I went on a road trip, was driving around, and like I have this conversation a lot with Europeans where it's like, oh, so what'd you do? Oh yeah, I drove 18 hours to this place. And like, you drove 18 hours? I'm like, yeah, it's quicker to drive than it is to fly. And they lose their mind about that. All right, where'd you go? And I was like, well, I went to New England. My buddy who's Irish was like, there's a fucking New England.
Fun fact. Technically, that's the second New England.
Really?
The first New England, right? So when William the Conqueror came over and made us all French, right? When William the Conqueror came over as a Norman, when the French took. To be fair, fun fact. Also, another fun fact.
To be fair, there were Vikings that just spoke French.
Yeah. It's entire. If you're mad about the fact the British Empire existed, blame the French because they gave that to Rollo of Normandy, who became the great sorry, my phone's beeping. The great grandfather of William the Conqueror, and that obviously snowballed into that parcel of land. Giving that to that one Viking would lead the domino effect of the British Empire. But when William came over, a bunch of Anglo-Saxons were like, sod this, I'm not living under some French Vikings. I've already lived under proper Vikings. Wasn't a fan of it. They kept sacrificing us to Odin. Not a fan. When they weren't molesting our women. Not a fan. So they went over to the Byzantine or the Eastern Roman Empire, because the Byzantine Empire is a name that was made up by the Germans, and the Eastern Roman Empire. And some of them joined the Varangian Guard. And at the same time, they were hearing of this place that was mostly held by the Rus, which we would now today know as Ukraine. And there was this bit of land called Crimea. So some of the Anglo-Saxon refugees settled on the southern portion of Crimea. And if you play the game Crusader Kings 3, you can, if you get enough of a presence in the region, you can form New England. So technically there is a little slice of Ukraine that is technically the New England that existed before New England.
Interesting.
Yeah.
But going back to the actual New England, not that Russian bullshit.
New England.
As you were saying earlier about taking more deep dives into American history, I'm not going to talk too much about it, but have fun down this rabbit hole. But during the American Revolutionary War, while the 13 colonies were fighting England, Connecticut and Pennsylvania were at war with each other the entire fucking time. And then South Carolina was in a brutal fucking civil war, and South Carolinians killed more South Carolinians than the British killed fucking anybody.
That sounds about right. Also, it blows my mind because obviously I work as a history editor full time for history documentaries, and I was learning. We've been doing some stuff on Henry Ford and Rockefeller, the oil tycoon. I think it's Rockefeller, and my brain is frazzled when the fact that you have oil wells and major cities in New York and such at the same time in the Yellowstone prequel, 1883. The exact same time 1883 is happening. You have these big cities, but these people are traveling across the Oregon Trail in open country, being assailed by various native tribes. Because I refuse to say Native Americans because that's a monolith and it was different cultures and different tribal kingdoms. It annoys me when certain people who use history for political standings.
Yeah, so you're talking about the
sorry. Yeah. It's impossible for me or Trim to stay on target. Yeah. It was normally, it was, I think it's in 1883, they go past Lakota. I feel Comanche. They meet the Comanches at one point, and like at the same time this is happening, you have this big industry building. You have this huge big industry building, right? On the east coast of America, which you would look at it and it looks like there's these 400-year apart time periods where people are traversing this open ground.
And then also you go just a little bit further west and you got Wyatt Earp doing his fucking thing in the 1870s and 80s. So like that's when the actual Wild West was. But at the same time, you got Queen Victoria fucking sending dudes to go fight the Russians in Crimea. Also, the Meiji Restoration was happening at the same time. So Cowboys versus Samurai isn't sci-fi. That's just like a boat that didn't get to the right place.
Yeah, that could have happened. But actually, no, I think there was one or two cowboys that did get to Japan and did have a couple of shoot-offs. We did get conquistadors versus samurai. I believe that did. That was on one of the islands. I believe
it was samurais in Mexico.
That was the one.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, samurais in Mexico. Yeah. Did you know how close we were to getting war elephants in the Civil War? There was I believe
our Civil War or yours?
Yours.
Okay.
I believe it was one of the kingdoms inside India as the British were busy. I'm not going to make that joke. We're on YouTube. As the British were busy colonizing. I know what will get us kicked off and suspended from YouTube. I know when to stop. As British were busy, the East India Company, who were doing many atrocities that the British Empire would then cover up. There was a few independent kingdoms and some even underneath. I believe one of them offered Abraham Lincoln war elephants, which means if Abraham Lincoln had been a bit more fun, there could have been unironic images and pictures and paintings of war elephants stamping on Confederates' heads.
That kind of makes sense though, because like the Emancipation Proclamation, which was like, hey, we're gonna free all the slaves kind of on paper, but like only in the South, ones that we don't have access to. The ones in the North can stay slaves for a while. But the only reason that was put forward in the first place is because England, France, and I think Spain were about to join the war on the side of the South. And then Lincoln was like, I need to make this war about slavery so like we don't get fucking invaded by the English.
People don't realize slavery now. People don't realize how close the British Empire was to aiding the South.
Yeah,
it was. But one of the things of it, once he did the Emancipation Proclamation, because the British public, people don't realize that when people are like, "Oh, the British will just lay down and take with our current political standing," I always point to slavery because the British public bitch slapped our leadership, our aristocracy so hard that not only did we make it illegal, we then spent a huge chunk on our GDP having a portion of the navy just dedicated to beating up the French, the Ottomans, like anyone who dared sail, try and peddle slaves within the territorial waters of the British Empire. Your ship was getting sunk, sometimes with the slaves on, but it wasn't effective. But there's
yeah,
and so we couldn't touch the South at that point.
Was that William Pitt or William Pitt the Younger that was setting that up?
I think so. I know, wasn't William Wilberforce?
Because I think William Pitt the Younger was like your youngest prime minister. He's like prime minister when he's 19. It's like, you fucking dick.
That we there's some interesting images that are not even that late on of like British naval sailors like cutting off the chains of African slaves who were just fresh out of Africa after being sold by their own kingdoms, just like being freed, and then all of different nations were like, "Hey, can you? We paid for them, so you got to give them back." And the British were like, "What are you going to do? What are you going to do? We Trafalgar. You heard of Trafalgar? We'll do that again. We'll laugh about it. We'll have fun." I think it was Zanzibar. There was a kingdom where one of the guys were like, "I'm not following British rules." And so the British just went into their ship and just did a naval volley and just obliterated his palace because his kingdom was that small.
That reminds me of an old ad. There is a fast food place called Jack in the Box. And their mascot, he's got like this big, it's just a regular person, but he's got like this big foam white head with a smiley face drawn on it and like a little hat. And in the 2000s, their TV commercials were about as unhinged as Wendy's was on Twitter. And they had this commercial where he's walking around in a suit, he's got his like, big cartoon head on. And the entire fucking ad is just him talking shit about Burger King. And
no, I noticed one.
Yeah. Then at the end of it, he's like, if I'm saying anything that's not true, and he rips his sleeves off, he's this big jack motherfucker. He's like, do something about it. But that reminded me of that. It's like, oh yeah, we're the British Empire. We're doing it. Oh, you don't like it?
I missed Brave, the Brave advertising of the early 2000s. I missed it. You should remember when the internet was just the Wild West. Oh, it's like you'd log on. There's an 80% chance you're going to talk to a paedophile by accident. Like, they're like, I remember as a young kid, I'd just be like on random forums. There was multiple times I was on random forums, and I'd be like, because like a word to parents watching, your kids will figure out VPNs are free. They will figure out a way past every firewall you have possible. Yeah. They will get past them. That's why you need to be vigilant.
Well, I mean, I guess though in hindsight, it's also kind of like one of those things where you have to be happy that you weren't accidentally a pedophile.
Yeah.
But to be fair, that 13-year-old chick that's pretending to be a 23-year-old chick was actually a 45-year-old FBI agent. Who is weird honeypot thing. Who's actually
a 67 CCP agent, 67-year-old CCP agent.
Yeah, who's actually the Jersey Devil. Actually, with all the cryptid stuff we talked about, have we ever talked about the Jersey Devil? We've
never done, which is funny because the Jersey Devil is one of my favorite American pieces of folklore. Because I know there's multiple, like, obviously, most realistically, it's most likely a giant bat if it exists. But I love the fact that the reason it was born was I think it was the last child of this couple, and
she was the 13th child.
Yeah, that was it. Yeah, that was it. And the mum was like, I really do not like want to have any more kids, and was really, really mad about having to have another kid. So made a pact with the devil, and the devil was like, sick. Anyways, you're still gonna have the kid, but now it's just gonna be a spawn of Satan. Yeah. So like, and it just apparently when she gave birth to it, like ran out of her vagina and then up the chimney and then flew away.
Yeah, no, it's funny because that happened in the quote unquote happened in the 1760s or 80s. So like that, the Headless Horseman, like Mary Pitcher, like those are all like Revolutionary War, founding myth side quests.
A lot of stuff happened in the Revolutionary War that kicks off. Again, it blows my mind how, because when you play Assassin's Creed and that, you see New York built up and all that. And so in my brain, right, the period of cowboys happens before that. But the fact that they were happening at the same time, like revolutionary. In fact, the cowboys hadn't even really started to become a thing when the Revolutionary War was going on.
Cowboys were realistically like maybe 1830 to 1925, which is weird because like the last Indian War ended after World War I did.
Really?
Yeah, it was in the 20s.
I thought because by now I thought that the American government was like, yeah. If you move on to reservations, we'll help you out later. Yeah, we'll help you out later.
There were still rebellions and stuff, and a lot of them weren't big. Where it's like, oh, hey, there's this war. It lasted for 3 years. There was 10 casualties, but like there was still U.S. military involvement and fighting rebels or insurgents or whatever you want to call them. I don't know what they would technically be.
I don't know because the I have to be very careful because when you get on with Native American reservation politics, it is really hard to pin down how because it depends on each reservation, and two, it depends like how it came into being, the relationship with the federal government because technically they're independent states inside the US. So would it count as a like on that technicality, would it count as a rebellion? Would it not just be like because
it depends though, because like that would also hinge on whether or not combatants were from that reservation or if they were just wherever they were originally from, not on the reservation, fighting in North Dakota or Arizona or wherever.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's kind of like, you know, when each Chinese dynasty just, if they couldn't conquer you outright, they would vassalize you, and you would just have to pay tribute to them. Like
Rome would do that too.
Yeah, like the same thing Rome did with like the Parthians, and to be fair, the Parthians and Romans went back and forth. But like, I think the Kingdom of Pontus before they conquered Anatolia, sort of thing. But I think multiple Chinese dynasties did it to Vietnam because they couldn't really conquer Vietnam. No one can conquer Vietnam. It's just not doable.
Dude, Vietnam couldn't even conquer Vietnam, dude.
No, quite literally. There was, I think it was the Kingdom of Kampuchea was desperately like was just going back and forth with the Vietnam, and they just couldn't conquer each other. Fun fact: the Chinese invaded Vietnam a couple years after the Americans pulled out and got that. The Chinese government, the Chinese histories tell it as, in typical communist fashion, as a total victory. When you look into it, they achieved none of their war goals. They did push on to the capital, but they didn't change the regime. They didn't get any of their advisors in. They didn't make any territorial gains. That was a failure.
Yeah.
That was a failure.
And you know what's funny is like that's the exact opposite of what happened with us, because like we beat the shit out of fucking Vietnam, and like everyone likes to talk about the Tet Offensive, right? Which happened in 1968. And while that was a political victory, it was a catastrophic fucking failure for North Vietnam. Like we completely destroyed the Viet Cong in that. And then for the rest of the war, we were only fighting the North Vietnamese army because there wasn't a Viet Cong anymore because we killed them all. And then Nixon got in office, like, I got to end the war. So he's like, hey, fucking, let's just start total warring fucking North Vietnam. So I forget if it was Linebacker or Rolling Thunder, but we started bombing them like they were fucking Germany. And they sued for peace. Fucking, we went inside the Paris Peace Accords, ended the war. And we're like, all right, cool. North Vietnam, South Vietnam, we're good. Nice. And then we left. And then as soon as we left, they're like, okay, the Americans are gone. Let's go. And then everyone got to use the propaganda for it because an embassy got fucking, or the embassies, got evacuated by helicopter, which is like,
everyone's seen the picture of the people clamoring to the helicopter.
Right. But that's like a couple hundred people. It's not like the Vietnamese pushed us out of fucking South Vietnam. We were like, all right, cool, treaty signed, we're out. But then even though that's on a technicality, we won that war, we're like, no, we lost it, fuck it, whatever. So,
well, it's basically like, okay, the South Vietnamese, the capitalists and their allies, you helped your allies out, and you're like, okay, guys, you got it from here. You sure? Yeah, definitely, you 100% sure. You got it. Okay, we're gonna, you fucking bricks.
Yeah.
It's like you're at a pub, or a bar for Americans. You're out with your mates, and a couple of them are like, "Oh, we're going to stay a bit later, but you want to get back, you want to get to bed, you're not quite on it, you're not feeling it that night." And you go, "Are you sure you're fine?" And then you get a call when you're halfway home, going, "Hey, shit's kicked off. Can you come get us?"
I think the better analogy would be, imagine you're a cop, and then Bob and Steve are beating the shit out of each other, or Steve's beating the shit out of Bob, and you show up. You save Bob, you kick Steve's ass, and then you go home. And then after you get home, Steve gets back up and starts beating Bob's ass again. Since Trips a vet, what's his thought on people comparing the Afghan pullout to the fall of Saigon? Well, the fall of Saigon was 2 years after our involvement in it left. So it's a little different. Also, fucking the Afghan pullout is kind of like, it's kind of a weird one, because like you can't say that we won Afghanistan, but you can't really say that we lost it either, because to win or lose, you have to have objectives that you either meet or don't meet. And we didn't have objectives. We went there to kick out the Taliban, which we did in 2001. So you could say we won Afghanistan in 2001 or 2.
Yeah.
And then just didn't fucking leave.
Even
though the bloodiest years of the war were like 2008 to like 12.
I have a really hot take on all of that, but I'm not going to say it. No, I'm not going to say it.
but the fucking Afghan pullout thing is kind of like, imagine you're dating a chick and you know that she's fucking everybody, and you're going to break up at some point, but you're stupid and don't break up with her before like she's done getting fucking railed out. And then you're like, you know what? I'm done with this. And then as soon as you leave,
crazy effect.
Yeah,
it's the Goth crazy effect. You're sitting there, you're like, every time you go there, she just comes in the fishnets and the 5-inch boots, and you're like,
this isn't even my fetish. Why am I here for this?
Why am I here for this? Why do I do this to myself? That is a perfect description of the US in Afghanistan.
Yeah. Although what's funny though is it's also the British in Afghanistan in the 1880s and 1910s.
The British, to be fair, so a lot of people would put it back to Alexander and the Selekids. The Alexander and the Selekids, those two empires didn't fail. They formed the Greek kingdom in Afghanistan called Bactria, which stood for ages, which the Taliban have so pleasantly destroyed all of the artifacts from that period. The British did try to conquer Afghanistan, helped with the Sikhs. A lot of people, there was a famous last stand where a bunch of Afghan tribesmen were coming at this fortress, and the Sikh garrison actually defended it really, really valiantly. And it's a really sad story, because basically they sealed it off, and each small group of soldiers was just being they were killing, slaughtering the tribesmen. It was if it had been a smaller number of tribesmen, they would have won the fight. It was 25 guys versus 10, 15,000.
So they were worse Zulu.
Yeah. They were holding their own for ages, and they were sending light signals through Morse code to the other British fort. And to the British fort's credit, they were hey, we need to get reinforcements to them. And then the main British, the typical moment of British military command being absolutely useless. No offense to anyone who's a fan of British military history, but our fucking generals have always been shit. So the British High Command was being absolutely useless, couldn't get the reinforcements out. Obviously, it's peak British Empire, so there's no cars or anything to get them out, so they're all coming on horseback. So the reinforcements are coming, but then the commander of the fort, who wants to get a garrison out to them, he sends a small sally out, realizes we can't take tribesmen. If I send my men out, I'm literally just sending them to die. So all he can do is just say back and go, hey, can you hold it for as long as possible to slow them down so we can amass our forces and actually beat them? Which is polite Britishness for
see ya.
Yeah, polite Britishness for you're gonna die, but I need you to not run away. And so but the Sikhs, to their credit, kept going, and the guy was sending reports of how many were there, and it's one of the saddest moments in history is the last message he got back was the signalman requesting permission to pick up his weapon because he didn't want to die without a weapon in hand. And so, like, he gets the signal back, granted, then the signal stop. And that's when our knowledge of the event stops as well. Because obviously the reason we know what was happening piece by piece and how everyone was dying was because the signalman was giving insanely detailed reports back for how much time he had to do it. And so we can only assume the signalman died valiantly because he didn't want to, which was...
Which that's another interesting thing though, is like I don't know where that happened. I'm gonna guess Kandahar.
I think my brain kept going Kandahar. Yeah,
there's a bunch of forts in Afghanistan that
British and
the
Soviet.
Afghans no the Afghans didn't build that either. Did there's a couple of Soviet places I've been to. There was a place called Delaram, which was neat because we had 2 FOBs in the area or in the town, one on each side of the river, and one of them was built around an old Soviet tower, which was neat. But then across the river, there was another one that was adjacent to a fort that the locals said that Alexander built, but they didn't go into it because it was haunted. And it was like, well, now I want to go in. They're like, no, you can't go in. It's haunted. It's like, well, why is it haunted? Because Alexander built it, and it's haunted.
Knowing you're like, you would have just walked straight face first into like a gin, or like one of those. What was Wartime Stories? His episode on Afghanistan. Those weird like giant bat monsters. Probably one of them. Or the Kandahar giant. You might have met the Kandahar giant.
Yeah, no, I've been to Kandahar, but
I tell you what, right? Because looking into the Kandahar giant stuff, the fact there's like, because everyone thinks it's just that one story, but it's not.
No, it's
that I like the sheer amount of American and British troops that were like, yeah, the Taliban have giants. The Taliban have giants fighting for them, and also there's giants that fight the Taliban. And I was like, this isn't a thing. And then I looked up, and there's like loads of people saying it. I was like,
so there's 2 things I want to tell you that I think would help illustrate the mindset for the people that tell these stories, right? One of them was
is it lots of alcohol?
No, we went up to a place called Herat. We're up in the mountains, and we go up to this compound mostly just to see what's going on. And this dude, old fucking guy, comes out and he's like, "Oh, I haven't seen you guys in a while." And we're like, "We haven't been here before. What do you mean?" He's like, "You guys are Russians, right?" And we're like, man,
wrong way around."
Yeah, another
There's
one.
This thing called the Cold War.
Yeah, there was another one where there was a town, village, whatever you want to call it. And there's a compound there, and it was Taliban stronghold, and they were building IEDs, running weapons through it and shit. And we had a C-130 come through and fucking level fucking half of it. And we come up the next day to do battle damage assessment, and the also for context for people watching, if you don't know what this is, a C-130 is a big giant flying murder machine.
Is that the one that goes brrr, that one?
It's one of the ones that do that. I think you're thinking of the A-10, which is more like a fighter plane.
Warthog. It's called.
Imagine a 1950s cargo plane that's just got cannons and grenade launchers and machine guns fucking mounted to the side of it. It's got this thing on it where you can give it a target and it will put a bullet every inch for a square 100 yards. Like, but anyway, C-130 comes by, smokes this fucking place. We come up the next day to, do battle damage assessment, and the villagers are freaking out because a dragon showed up and smote them. So it's like, yeah, there might be giants. It might just be a really tall dude.
It could just be a Scottish, because they're always said to be ginger. So it could just be just one Scottish dude.
Dude, that's the other thing though, is like, okay, so everyone like thinks that not everyone, but your typical uneducated person thinks that Afghans are all fucking Arabs, so they look like they're from fucking Iraq. They're not. They look like lighters, like Pashtuns, which is that ethnic group. Excuse me. Half of them look like lighter skinned Indians, but same facial structure. Just instead of being like black or dark red, they're just tan. But a lot of them have like that same dark complexion, but red hair and blue eyes. It's weird.
I never would have expected that.
Yeah. I mean, also the thing with that though is like that region of Asia, also Arabs too. Like they're all technically Caucasian. So like Caucasians are like what, like Ireland to almost fucking Vietnam.
Yeah.
In some way or another. So like
it's
Arabs and Indians, it's just like darker.
Well, if you go back early enough to the Indo-European migrations,
yeah,
like from India to island. It's the same groups.
Yeah.
But it's like, well, you know, it's one
out of the Caucasus.
Yeah. I mean, those groups definitely like we very quickly got to murdering each other. Whenever I imagine the Indo-European migration, so I imagine like this big sort of, you know, Dothraki style horde marching through Eurasia. It's not. It's a bunch of different people murdering each other as they go along, and that pushes the next lot in. And then they meet like the corded ware culture and stuff like that. And then obviously there's some people that sell up there and go back, and then you get the Celts and the Saxons and the Hellenes and all that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like, human genetics are weird because, like, I watched this fucking documentary a while ago. It was like 3 hours long, and they were going around the planet, just taking blood samples to do. I think they were calling it like DNA archaeology, just to like try to map where people went and how. And they were talking to how like there's a certain part of West Africa that's those people never left, but a lot of like sub-Saharan Africans left sometime before the Ice Age and just went back. And
have you ever known that there's like in the Egyptian peninsula, where like the Sinai Peninsula, we're getting into the Middle East, you know that it took Homo sapiens like 2 or 3 attempts to break through that. And
I would imagine there's a lot of barren desert that you can't survive without.
Well, not even that. Like at that point, so there's like stories of battling like people, and there's a theory that was just Neanderthals. Like for a good portion, we were just attacking the Neanderthals.
And then leave it to the French to stop killing them and start fucking them, and that's why there's so many Europeans with Neanderthal DNA. No, but going back to the other thing with the DNA thing, they went to this like island, and it's off the coast of Australia, and they're not Australian Aboriginals. There's some other type of Aboriginals, but they're like skin tone blacker than the Ace of Spades, bright blonde afros, blue eyes, and it's like that's a weird fucking like way genes work on that one, buddy. But it's just kind of fun watching, you know, all the variations of, you know, shit that exists.
But there's also the chart of like we've lost most of our history through time, through destruction, through wars and such. And so there is a high chance of different groups that have met each other and like shagged a couple times, and then obviously they've diverged again. And so there's like, how did that genetic trait get there? And you're like, oh, okay, it makes sense now.
Yeah, no, there was a Native American tribe. And this was in the mid 1500s, which
I think I know this one. It's the Native American tribe that all had blue eyes, like every single one of them.
Yeah, but they were using half of their language and then also a lot of Gaelic. And they're like, well, how'd this get here? And then they like did some backtracking. They're like, so there was like a couple of like Scottish dudes that like went missing around this area 20 years ago.
Huh. They got busy. They were like, it's like, oh, we've found our way into this Native American tribe. What shall we do? Shag. Hey. It's also one of my favorites, because I was going to go into like a Roanoke'sburg there, but then I realized I don't know enough about Roanoke, but I do know enough about Vinland and Newfoundland, and it does. One of my favorite little mysteries is like, what pushed the Vikings out of like, was it the Native American tribes in the region, did they like push the Vikings out, those Viking settlers, or did the Viking settlers just die out on their own, or did they leave?
So I think it's a combination of the few. Like, there wasn't a lot of Vikings over here. Like when people talk about it, they like to say, oh, they set up this, you know, whole society. It's like there was less than 1,000 of them combined. But also there's Viking burial mounds in Alaska that they found. So I think it's they landed and was like, all right, you guys stay here. I'm going to go that way. And then just petered out. If anything, they probably got to the point where it's like there's 5 of them here, 5 of them here, 5 of them here.
Yeah.
You go ahead. Fucking Sasquatch over here has got something she's got to tell me. It's important. It might be a while.
Yeah, we're just gonna I just might gonna join this tribe. I need to speak to these 3 ladies. You need to go and speak to some ladies over there in Alaska. You go do that. Have fun.
Well, one of the other things I think is funny, going back to the genetics thing, is a lot of people don't put 2 and 2 together on this unless they like, you know, read, which I'm imagining you do. But like North, or actually not North Americans, fucking ancient Americans, whatever. They're all fucking Asians that, came over the land bridge. Yeah. But I was watching this show called, I think it was called Marco Polo. It was really good. It was kind of like Game of Thrones, but it was only like 2 seasons long.
Yeah, it was
great.
They cancelled it. The last they had the whole setup for season 3.
But like I'm watching this show and I'm looking at the Mongolians, and to their credit, they cast actual Mongolians to play most of the Mongolian characters, and I'm like, that person's Cherokee. Like that person's not fucking from Mongolia. That person's fucking Cherokee. Go look them up. Oh yeah, born in word that's this long somewhere in Mongolia. I'm like, oh, huh. Oh, interesting. So like a lot of not all, because they interbred and went back and forth with genetics, varying all that shit. Yeah. But a lot of Western North American natives just look like they're fucking Mongolian.
It's because I think it's the Barren Strait land bridge, wasn't it? That allowed the sort of migrations into America, and I think that's what it was called. And it is wild to me how from various different points, right? Humans liked to walk. Given how sedentary we are now, and we're always like in offices and all that, we just like it's wild to me that at some point it started off with a couple geezers in Africa going, "Can't be asked to live here anymore. Let's go walk." Go to the Middle East. Can't be asked to live anymore. Let's go walk. We find our way into Central Asia. Let's go walk.
Wait, do you think that like this has something to do with what Tolkien was writing about? All right, I'm gonna have these hobbits, and they're gonna walk. Here's an elf. Walk.
The reason Tolkien's work works so well is because he was trying to make a mythology for England. That was his entire focus, and because he was a linguist, I have a strong hunch. Because if you are a linguistic nerd, you are going to be able to trace human migrations almost perfectly. If you get down into language, because the evolution of languages is a whole other thing, and you can watch migratory routes through languages going back and forth as like how did that's a word from like some Siberian language, like how is that in the middle of Africa, and then you follow the migration backwards and forwards, and you can sometimes trace it better than the I mean, obviously you're going to get conquests and such. Like there's a low, like I always like winding people up because England is the bastard language of Europe. We have Scandinavian roots. We have Scandinavian words, Slavic words, Latin words. We have French. We have just modern
and
Italian.
What's funny is like it hasn't really evolved that much if you put a critical mind to it. So you have England with the English
from Old English. It has modern English and Old English is like
can you follow my train of logic?
I'm sorry.
So you have England. That's the English, and that came from the Anglo-Saxons, which Anglo. You throw some spin on how you pronounce Anglo, and it becomes Anglo and becomes England. But before there was the Anglo-Saxons, the Anglos were in Denmark, and the reason they were called Anglos is because their hooks. They were fishermen, like anglers.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So like really, England is just land of the hook people.
Well, much to the dismay of the Welsh, the reason Wales is called Wales is because the Anglo-Saxons turned up. Were like, what are these people doing? These foreigners, Wales, and like literally that is how Wales gets its name. Huh. It's I think it's Cymru in actual Welsh, and because we saw the native people, my ancestors saw native people like, what a bunch of foreigners. Anyways, we're gonna have this now. This is ours now. Because that was another funny thing is we were invited in, like obviously the Huns were pushing in, so the migration start, and then like a couple of, I think that the legend goes that it started in Kent. The King of Kent was the first one to invite, and then one of the brothers that were involved in the mercenaries died, and the surviving one was meant to marry the king's daughter, and eventually he's like, sorry, I just take the kingdom anyways. And then like one by one, because the Celtic kingdoms were like very numerous post Rome's like departure, and so the Angles, the Saxons, and the Jutes just kind of came in and they were like in stages. Most of them came as mercenaries. Some of them were meant to fight off the Picts. Some of them were there and paid to fight off other Celtic Britons. And time and time again, because none of the kingdoms learnt their lesson, it was like, oh, you've run out of money to pay us. That's interesting. Could you pay us in your crown? Like like that, and then obviously the Danes came over. The Danes and Norse came over and tried to do the same, and they failed.
Same thing with that. Like, if you fast forward a little bit, at least the Irish, unlike the Scottish, had the common decency to actually be conquered before they capitulated to fucking England. Instead of like, hey, we're broke. You guys are going to be part of the UK. Fine.
This island has spent so long killing itself. You get so many stories because so you have the Picts, who have Celtic culture. They may have been another migratory group. The origin of Picts is very, very murky. There is one theory that they're actually Scandinavians. I don't believe that one. I do think they're most likely Celtic. But so the Scots name comes from the Scotti, which were a tribe of Irishmen. And they invaded and they created a kingdom called Dalriata. And so the actual Scottish people, and this is going to upset every Scottish person watching, what happened when the Normans attacked is they pushed the Anglo-Saxons up. And so some of them fled, and because the Scottish king wanted the Pictish king at the time wanted a nice border with the Normans, he put them on the bottom. So the modern Scottish was made up of the native Picts, the Scotty Irish invaders, and the Anglo-Saxons. So modern Scots are part English, part Irish, and part Pict. And I always wind that up to my Scottish friends, which is funny because then those same Scottish would invade the northern part of Ireland and create Ulster Scots.
Allegedly.
They could deny all they want. That's how history. That's how the cookie crumbled.
Yeah.
The history of the British Isles is wild.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of fun stuff with it. And like it still bleeds over. Like I don't know what they're doing now, but like when I was growing up, like you'd have your, I don't know how to speak English classes, but like once you started reading books before you got into American literature, you'd always have a British literature class or two before you.
Do you guys have to do Shakespeare?
Yeah.
You can't even escape Shakespeare. I couldn't escape.
No,
Shakespeare
I remember in school, I read several Shakespeare's, Beowulf, fucking. I didn't read, Wuthering Heights or Jane Eyre, but like other people in other classes did.
Yeah.
But then there was also a lot of Percy Shelley and Samuel Taylor Coleridge. Those people. So, and that wasn't like special class I took. It was like you have to do this to pass this grade.
Yeah, we got for me because I was home educated, so I did get a bit more freedom. But like the normal stuff is like Shakespeare, Jane Austen.
Yeah.
Like it's a lot of that sort of the old school authors. But man, it's scary that you can't escape Shakespeare even across an entire ocean. He's just there.
Yeah. Well, I mean, to be fair though, like he invented a good 15% of the words that are used in the English language now.
Yeah. Which is kind of funny when you think about it, that he was just sitting there and he was like, oh man, how
Dr. Seussing it.
Yeah, he was like, I can't describe. I'm just going to invent a word, and people just let him do it. People are like, yeah, it's Shakespeare.
They were probably like, dude, what did he just say? I'm going to go outside and call someone that in the street, motherfucker. I'm going to leave the globe and oi.
It's just so funny that he just kept inventing words. People are like, yeah, this makes sense. I'll go with it. If it's Shakespeare says it must be true.
Yeah, why not? Which is kind of funny though, because when I was writing Six Pistols and a Dagger, which is kind of Blackbeard and kind of Macbeth, but with space pirates, I looked into it, and so much of Shakespeare is just him rewriting other shit, because there was something in Scotland that kind of sort of happened like Macbeth. Probably not as dramatic, but some lord was like, I want to be the king. How do I do that? Stab the old king in his sleep. Also, my wife's a bitch. And now I'm dead.
I remember when I was in uni studying film and television, one of the first things one of my lecturers told me was every story that could be told has been told.
Oh yeah,
And it happened from the very first moment when the ancient Greeks had one guy up on a stage and the entire play was just him for 6 hours chatting shit. That's the storytelling. You can find a connection between any book and any show and any film. Just if you give me like a couple days, I can normally do that essay for you. I managed to link 2001: A Space Odyssey to Star Wars.
Oh, that checks out.
Yeah,
I read a book once, and it was originally published in, I think, the 1880s, and it was some British dude went to Japan, and he was just writing down their folk tales for what is the word? Anthropological fucking reasons.
Yeah.
So it's all short stories and folk tales. But there's one where there's this samurai, and he gets done with his battle or war or whatever, and he's walking back to his castle. And on the way, he finds this girl that's crying on the side of the road, and he's like, "Hey, what's going on?" She's like, "I'm lost. I don't know how to get home." And he's like, "Well, where's your home?" And she's like, "Oh, it's in this town." It's like, "Well, I'm going to that town. I'm going through that town. I'll walk you home." So he walks home with her. They talk about their lives a little bit. That unimportant, chit chatter drama. And they're walking. She gets hot. She takes her kimono off, and the samurai's a gentleman, so he holds her kimono, and then he drops her off at her house, and then goes home. Next day, he wakes up. He's like, "Oh man, I'm gonna get some breakfast. Oh man, I got this girl's kimono." So he takes it back to her house, knocks on the door. Some dude answers, and the other guy's like, "Well, what's going on?" He's like, "Oh yeah, I walked Akiko home last night. I got her kimono," and he's like, "Akiko died a year ago today." And then that's where it ends with a dun dun dun. It's like, okay, so that story is fucking old. Got it. Not even our myths and folk tales are fucking safe from that shit.
Yeah, no, that's see. What's funny is now you say it, is there's similar stories, from Old England, from sort of the Tudor period as well.
Yeah.
That are sort of dissimilar, the walking the ghost girl home, which is another layer of. Do those stories merge? Do those stories come about independently of one another, or is that the whisper goes across
or did that happen in Sumeria one time for real, and then everyone's just talking about it because it happened to somebody 10,000 years ago, and
although there's a really funny piece of Japanese folklore where there's a creature where it just has an eyeball for an anus. Can't remember what it's called.
A brown eye.
Weird.
Well, they're Asian, so it probably is a brown eye.
No, we need to hang on. Japanese creature with large eyes. Creature.
Well, the Japanese have weird ghosts and cryptids and stuff too.
Yeah,
they're so much different than European or North American ones.
I think it's called the Shirmi yokai.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's literally just a creature that walks along on all fours, and it opens up its butt, and there's just a big eyeball.
Well, it's funny though, because we have it's funny looking at ghost stories and cryptids and which ones overlap and don't, because on one hand, you guys don't really have a Bigfoot. You have something kind of similar.
We have the Woodwose.
Yeah, it's not quite one for one, but we have this thing called Champ, which is I think Minnesota. And it's just like our Loch Ness monster. And it's
isn't it
fucking thing?
Yeah, it's word for word the exact same description.
Yeah.
Jersey and Korea has a bunch of those stories, usually revolving people killed by tigers. That would make sense because a lot of people were killed by tigers.
Dude, I don't know, man. I've seen some fucking videos where guys are out hunting tigers, and they're on the back of an elephant out in India somewhere, and they're in grass that's this tall, and everything is fluorescent green, right?
Yeah.
And tiger manifests like a demon out of the grass that's only 6 inches tall. This thing's bright orange. How the fuck didn't I see it?
And then the black stripes. Because the black stripes, because your brain can't quite figure out.
It probably also has to do with the mud being the same color, orange. So you see shadow orange and black, and you're like, that's just mud.
Yeah, it's a clever. It is evolution has God's guided evolution has produced some masterful
well, the one thing about tigers that freaks me out is they're the closest thing we're going to get to a perfect man-made or god-made killing machine, besides maybe a shark, but it has a false face on the back of its head to,
where because
to scare fucking predators, and it's like, what the fuck is eating tigers?
What have we not discovered? Gigantopithecus probably. There's probably just a bunch of Gigantopithecus living in the mountains that we just refuse to notice. It's like I think I've mentioned this to you multiple times. I 100% believe that there is a species of Neanderthal living in the Siberian wilderness. I 100% believe there is at least 1 or 2 tribes left living in the Siberian wilderness. If you think that the Soviets were going off and meeting Siberian tribes, and this was like deep into the reign of Stalin, or like later than Stalin, and they were like, "Hey, what are you doing?" They were like, "Oh, hey, how's the Tsar?" Like that's how unconnected those people were. Is they were like, "Hey, how's the Tsar?" Like, Catherine. Like they were completely. And if they were untouched, who's to say deeper in? I firmly believe that there is like at least a small group of Neanderthals who got fed up with our shit and were like, "We're gonna go live in here."
It's not impossible. I mean, especially when you think about like uncontacted tribes and stuff. But speaking of Catherine, I do want to point out that and again, I am a little bit biased. I am not a fan of the Russians. Also, that's not an American liberal thing. I was born in the 80s. I have fucking hated them from birth. But Russia has never actually fucking done one goddamn thing by itself. And all of the great Russian leaders, 90% of them were fucking German. And then
because Catherine is German. Catherine the Great was German. German.
And then even Stalin, I don't like the guy, but using the word great in a historic sense, sure. But he wasn't Russian. He was from Georgia.
Yeah. So she knows it's like when a texture loads on a video game and suddenly an enemy appears. Same theory I have about Bigfoot.
The thing with that Bigfoot is the Pacific Northwest outside of cities is not fucking populated, and you can have hundreds of fucking miles without fucking seeing, another human being. And all the indigenous people say that Bigfoot's there. All the fucking settlers, fucking descendants of, white people that moved in say Bigfoot's there. And the people that say Bigfoot's not there are assholes from Los Angeles or New York that go up there for 2 weeks and walk around the woods. But, well, I didn't see him, so must not be real.
No, that's not only that. It's the assholes from a city who stomp around with their massive backpacks, a bright, not a red light, because if you're going to look for animals, anyone who's gone into a woodland and has actually not wanted to be seen, and has been you use red light because that doesn't scare animals off. So when you're Also, I realized how messed up that made me sound. I was in the Army Cadets. I wasn't doing anything illegal. I may be from Essex, but I'm not that kind of Essex person. If you don't want to be seen, you use a red light. So these Los Angeles people won't even have a head torch on. They'll just have a regular torch shining and going, Bigfoot, quick, get the camera crew over. Bigfoot, where's Bigfoot? Oh, we didn't see one, but we did hear some tree knocking. That was the producer off in the corner.
Yeah.
And it annoys me so much because I see these videos of these LA animal experts, and they that you'll see the little clips and you can hear every crack of wood, and you're a proper woodsman who's trying not to be spotted by saying is going to know your foot placement is 100%. You have to monitor every single atom of your foot.
And it's not even woods. Well, I guess it would be woodsman, depending on how you want to say it. But I never got good at that because I was a desert guy. But there was some field ops that went on where we were out in the woods, and there was dudes that weren't desert people. They were woods people. They could be in a full fucking sprint, and you couldn't hear them. Yeah. So it's all how you fucking treat your feet.
It's also on the counter side where people are I was just walking and then this big ape monster was just behind me, was a few foot in front of me, or he just appeared out of the tree, and then people are oh, clearly Bigfoot's teleporting. But it goes back to the tiger. It's because camouflage. You didn't see him for the 4 or 5 foot. It's only because you've closed in and now you can smell it. But to the people that argue, oh, you would definitely hear Bigfoot. It's one, it's probably evolved padded feet and it knows the environment better than you do, so it can get up behind you silently because that thing has to hunt. And 2, I have a Rottweiler. That's a big dog. the amount of times I've not had no headphones on or anything, and I've been fully aware of my surroundings, the amount of times I felt his nuzzle my leg, and I'm like, how did you sneak up behind me?
Yeah.
This is like a wood floor.
Well, the other thing though is like going back to ancient Greece, there were stories about these big fucking Bigfoot looking ape men down in South Africa, and everybody was like, yeah, cool, you went to Africa and saw some apes. Okay, racist. And that went on for thousands of years, and then gorillas were like officially discovered in like 1910. So it's like, I mean, it might be plus or minus a few years, but it was like after the death of Queen Victoria, and it's like, okay, so if gorillas, we didn't know they lived until about 100 years ago. Yeah, fuck it, there might be some out there. I don't know.
It's like the myths of, I think it's the ape men inside the forests of the Congo, that everyone's like, yeah, that's just some chimps that stand upright occasionally, and like all of the locals are like, no, like there's fucking ape men in the woods. Like, but bear in mind, this is a country that's like consistently war torn, and they're like, don't go in the fucking woods.
Yeah. Well, the other thing though is like, I forget what her name was, but the chick that like went out and like lived with the fucking gorillas for like 20 years to study.
Is that? Yeah, I know that one.
Dude, she died like 3 weeks ago. Like,
oh shit, really?
All that information is super fucking new. Like, gorillas were like big in like the pulp culture thing in the 80s because like that's when we kind of figured them out. They're new.
See, that's wild. That's wild. I know. I didn't realize she'd passed away, but that is some of her work, because gorillas are incredibly hard to trust humans for understandable reasons, and they are very good at hiding from us. So if a Bigfoot does exist, or Neanderthals in Siberia, or particularly a woodwose in the UK where there's hardly any vegetation, and there's also stories in Portugal and Spain, and there's a couple in Finland of like the same foul-smelling, big, hairy man, like anything with any semblance of intelligence is going to look at a human being. Rock apes in Vietnam War, yes, Alpha. Rock apes are wild, man, because they're like, most of the time when there's a Bigfoot type creature, it's like, he was so friendly and he would knocked and he like chat and he just, he was friendly with us. And then rock apes are like, nah, fucking humans. Like,
yeah. Well, the other thing though that I think's fucking funny about the situation around it is there are certain places you can go and you can meet militant fucking atheists. Like, hey, there's nothing else. Like, we're all just fucking like this like weird chemical reaction that's fucking happening. There's no spirit world, there's no God, there's no heaven, there's no hell. It's just this flush shit that started at the Big Bang. Don't go into those woods though, because that's where the fairies live. And it's like, well hold on, what was all that other shit you were talking about 2 fucking seconds ago, buddy?
I was that atheist. I must admit, I was that atheist who was like, I was adamant. I was like, yeah, none of this happens, but don't go in that fairy circle because the fairies will get you. Which is quite funny. Because to be fair, I think that's also a cultural thing. Like because like clearly, like I was saying, there is definitely a memory that we instinctively, when we see these Bigfoot type stories like the Yeti, the rock apes, the things in Finland and all that, across the globe, we all instinctively go ape man, wild man. Like it is like at some point in their history, that was clearly a prevalent thing that we can immediately digest it. Right? I've lost my train of thought. What were we talking about just before I brought up ape men again?
The Uncanny Valley.
That was it. No, it wasn't. Fuck. Well,
while you're gathering your thoughts, one of the things that I think is funny about the Uncanny Valley is everybody's like, well, we all have this weird cultural memory that goes back to caveman days. We're afraid of things that almost look human, but like aren't. And might have been demons, might have been some other hominin, blah, 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 whatever. But the more I'm going to call bullshit on that, because the more fucking scientists look into it, the more it's that what other hominid there was, it didn't die out. We just started having sex with it, and like here's it in our DNA. Like Neanderthals didn't go extinct. Like we just started banging them. So it's like, why are we afraid of these things instead of getting horny about them?
Isn't there like that 1% of DNA that we can't figure out where it comes from? And like the ancient alien people are like, it was definitely aliens, but like there's like Denisovan, Neanderthal, and then there's another species of human that we've not found any bones for. It just exists in the DNA record.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's wild.
I mean, it might be aliens. I don't fucking know. I wasn't around,
Possibly.
but
Just
I don't know. The one weird thing that I do have to give the ancient alien people is, so there's been some argument back and forth on Zachariah Sitchin's, take on the Anunnaki, the Sumerian gods, whether or not, they're made up or they're sky people, or maybe they are aliens, but Anunnaki means sky people. I forget who it is. I think it's the Navajo, but their gods are the Anunnaki, and that word means sky people. And it's like, well, I'm pretty sure the Sumerians and the fucking Navajo didn't have a shared culture. Why do they have the same word that means the same thing for their same deities? That one's just a little bit off to me.
But see, there is also that 1% chance that the merchant, like the story traveled all the way up through Asia, across into Alaska, and then like over time was just getting completely devolved. And then it just so happened that this one Native American tribe were like, yeah, that sounds like a god.
Well, there's also the thing you brought up earlier where like there's a possibility that was a word while we were in fucking Africa and it only survived to those two places. So, I mean, there is that, but it's also kind of head scratching. Like the other one that makes me scratch my head is that like there's been like cocaine found in like ancient Egyptian mummies, and like that's a South American thing. And it's like, where'd you guys get coke? I understand you were partying.
I have a small hunch that there was at least limited trade with South America. This is completely ahistorical, but I have like this weird hunch that like there's maybe a chance. It's like 1%, but there's like maybe a chance. I mean, because all it would take
zero.
Yeah. It's like all it would take is one ship to get there and back, and then go, hey, we met these people in like South America. We're like, we found this thing. It's like, what'd you do with it? You sniff it, and then you get really, really hyper.
I mean, that's a maybe. That's a
maybe.
Maybe. Although I do like the fucking things that they've been pointing out more recently, that like the Sphinx may have been built when the Sahara was jungle, and the Egyptians were just like, oh, that thing's cool. Let's not tear that down.
Oh, you think that the theory is this Sphinx was pre the Egyptians turning up?
Yeah. There's some people that think that, and they point to because it's built out of the fucking rock around it, and the rock around it has weathering marks that would require like hurricane level fucking deluge multiple ones of them, over a long series of time.
That would make the Sphinx very old.
Yeah, but the other thing though is, and this is to my knowledge, and to be fair about this, there's still a lot about ancient Egypt that we just fucking don't know. I think there's some. Yeah, I think there's some estimate that like of what is possible for us to know, we've probably only dug up maybe 5 or 10% of ancient Egyptian fucking information, and that's between shit we've dug up and stuff that like we've remembered since they've been a culture.
Don't forget the ancient Egyptians had archaeologists.
Yeah,
because I learned this recently. Like there is stuff that is so significantly old to the Egyptians that they had archaeologists digging stuff up.
And from what I understand, the Sphinx is one of them. That the to my knowledge, the last thing I was reading about it was like they have no idea where the fuck it came from. It was there when they got there.
Which would be Graham Hancock somewhere going, oh yeah, ancient civilizations.
Graham Hancock's weird too, because like surface level, like you can absolutely fucking buy all that, especially because like when you take a little bit further of a deeper look into it, most of the stuff where like he's getting steerheaded on, like he'll say it's because they don't want you to fucking know this, but if you look into say a certain archaeological site, the reason that the government there isn't giving it attention is for internal political reasons.
Yeah,
it has nothing to do with that fucking dig site, what the fuck soever. But it makes for a good story to say that they don't want you to know the truth.
I think the reason Graham Hancock is so successful is because he knows how to spin a good story. Like he's asking, like, like certain questions, like, hey, why don't we dig here? Because like here's the question of, did they have this technology? Let's dig here because that's where the story says it was. Oh no, we can't dig here, like you say, for internal political reasons. Half the time it's because another archaeologist wants the money. So if you can laugh at a guy's ideas, then that dig's never happening and you get the money.
Well, the
But
other thing
the
too,
issue
though,
is,
is like a lot of people like to make fun of him and say, "Oh, well, he's saying these people had rocket ships and space planes." But if you listen to him,
yeah,
it's like maybe they didn't get to the Bronze Age, but like they figured out like tin or copper or fucking
yeah.
whatever, and like that's all the far they got before they got wiped out. But like that's still more than caveman.
Yeah, I say, I think Graham Hancock overall is a hack who just wants to sell books, and the only reason he has documentaries is because his son works at Netflix, or is it his nephew? I don't know, one of the two. But I'm not a biggest fan of Graham Hancock because, like I say, he asks the correct questions, and then he goes full confirmation bias. Like, I admit I have some crazy conspiracy theories that go along history. Like, I'm fairly certain we know who killed Alexander the Great, and it wasn't natural at all. And I'm fairly certain that the entire thing was laid out. I'm fairly certain that there was a lot more foul play for kings that died naturally. Like, I have a lot of historical conspiracy theories, but whenever I go into them, I immediately preface it with, "Hey, this is a random thing I thought up and I don't really have the evidence for." Whereas Graham Hancock will be like, "Hey, I found like 4 pages in an old Victorian book that's been debunked. So clearly they had like a car."
So, this isn't major spoilers for later down the road in the books. This is just a conversation a couple characters are having. But I did have a couple characters just talk massive shit about Alexander the Great. Because like, oh yeah, he went out here and conquered the world. It's like, yeah, look at a map, man. He did war in the Middle East. That's the free spot on the bingo card of warfare. Oh my God, you invaded Iraq.
That or the
Neat.
Balkans. The Balkan. No matter what period of history you look at, the Middle East or the Balkans is at war.
Yeah.
One and or both of them is at war.
Have you heard of the what is the country I'm looking at? The Serbian war Camaro?
No, I have not.
Okay, now some people will call this the Serbian War Camaro. I refuse that. It's the Serbian War Camaro. It was in the 80s, and there was this Black Ops dude, and he needed to, go do fucking, runs, pull people in, transport weapons, do this and whatever.
Yeah.
So he bought a fucking Camaro and made this thing a fucking up armored fucking demon that like could fucking hit 180 fucking miles an hour on a dirt road. Have fun with that fucking deep dive. It's like something out of Mad fucking Max, except for it's like, oh, this is a real thing that happened in the Balkans in the 80s. Cool.
To be fair, if anywhere was going to be the real world Mad Max, it would be the Balkans. It would be the Balkans.
Yeah.
Like the Croatians were getting up to war crimes that the Nazis were like, "Calm down, dude." Like, calm the fuck down. It's like, you're eating people? Calm down. That's another deep dive for people. That's a fun one.
Maybe don't do that. Although fucking the World War II has kind of been overdone in history shit, but to be fair, it involved the entire fucking planet, and there's almost no one that doesn't treat World War II like your country's fucking foundation myth, right? Like,
yeah,
say, like, in America, it's like, yeah, we had the American Revolution, but we didn't like really start being a country until World War II. And then and again, this has a lot to do with like it's still in living memory. It's limited now because most of them are 110 years old and dying off.
Yeah.
But like even then, it's like, yeah, England's got this like big, long, rich, fucking history. But as far as we are now, it's like, I mean, like it's not fair to say that Churchill started the country, but it is fair to say that Churchill started how we think of who we are now.
Yeah. It is.
Yeah.
I think it less of a creation myth, more as a reset myth. Like how in Game of Thrones, the Targaryens go to Westeros because of the doom of Valyria. Yeah. It's like, it's not Westeros's, like, it's not the Iron Throne's foundation myth. It's not like their creation myth, but it is the reset. Yeah. Like, if the Doom of Valyria didn't happen, the Targaryens would have just been a minor house and a minor trading outpost. But because of the Doom of Valyria, that then leads to the rise of Targaryens, which is essentially a reset for the Valyrian people. Mm-hmm. So I think World War II kind of acts for that as that on a global scale. Because if World War II never happens, the age of colonialism probably does. In fact, actually, even after World War II, if the French and the English had actually sat down and were like, hey, let's merge our empires into the Anglo-Frank Union, colonialism and imperialism probably don't end. So the fact that imperialism and because a lot of people point to the end of Nazism and failing to end communism, but
the end of Nazism is not a good argument because it was only around for 15 years.
That's what I mean. They were new ideas, whereas colonialism and imperialism go back to before ancient Greece. They go back to before Cyrus.
And even then, it didn't end. It just got rebranded. Like fucking. Instead of doing it via the military, we're doing it via companies. So imagine a less violent East India Trading Company. But that's kind of just what's going on. Like, so instead of, fucking.
And the French have complete control. The French have almost complete control of the economies of the North African nations that used to be in their empire. Look up the I think it's the African franc, and how Georgia Maloney brought this up, right? Bearing in mind she's meant to be the far right, racist, fascist person. Yeah. She was bringing up how the French still operate colonies in Algeria in all but name.
Yeah.
And she was doing that like 2 years ago. And I always tell people to look that up because I'm like,
it's the same thing with us with the Middle East. Like fucking, and it's not quite one for one, but like there's an argument to be made on, hey, so are the Saudis really pulling fucking all of the American strings, or it's like, or are we getting our oil from somewhere for cheap and it's being exclusively traded in US dollars? I mean,
it's fine. I don't think I don't think the Americans are trying to. I don't think you guys are trying to put a monopoly on who we trade with. It's not like you would attack, say, Colonel Gaddafi because he was trying to make an African dollar instead.
And it's not like we would fucking invade Iraq if Saddam Hussein wanted to start trading oil in euros or anything.
Yeah. We definitely found those weapons of mass destruction. We definitely found.
No. See that one bit does fucking bother the fuck out of me because we were selling it to him in the fucking 80s. So if he didn't have weapons of mass destruction, where the fuck did they go?
That's the thing. Where did they go? Because he didn't find them.
And B, actually, okay, we gotta add a C to this. And B, fucking, what was he gassing the Kurds with? If there's no weapons of mass destruction over there. And C, we did fucking find a lot of them, but it got swept under the fucking rug. I know more than a fucking handful of people that like found sarin gas fucking facilities, and they're like, hey, don't talk about this. I don't know.
What's the point of having the war about finding the weapons of mass destruction and covering it up?
Part of me says that's a really interesting question. The other part of me is like, I think there's stuff we sold them that we didn't like declassify later, and it's like none of this. Like because it's like, well, if you found the sarin gas, sure, we sold him that, but like, what about XYZ? Yeah, no, he didn't have that, so he didn't have any of this.
I mean, it is kind of funny though. It's like, hey, we're going to invade you for weapons because you have weapons of mass destruction. The ones you sold me.
Yeah,
that's the ones you're invading me over. It's like, yeah. Hey, why are we going to Afghanistan? Poppy seeds.
That's an interesting one because like the rhetoric online is like, oh, we weren't there to kick out the Taliban. We were there to guard fucking poppy fields. It's like, dude, I remember burning those fucking things.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know who the fuck was protecting them because we were burning the fuck out of poppy fields.
That is complete. You know what? It wouldn't surprise me. It's a few guys on Reddit who started that rumor, and everyone's just run with it.
Or if you want to get real tin hat foily, maybe some units burnt them and other ones protected them.
So that some people, yeah. I suppose because then a few people can always go back and be like, "No, I burnt them. What are you talking about?"
Yeah. I mean, there is that, but like also it's like that seems like a massive waste of fucking resources. If that's why we're here, why wouldn't we just make up something else? Well, I mean, we need them for pharmaceuticals. That's why we're not blah blah blahing whatever.
Yeah. And there's a lot of modern. I must admit, I do like especially recent history geopolitics, especially considering we are entering into a very interesting. I said to a friend a few months ago, I was like, historically, the human race has not had 1 second when a good chunk of the planet has not been at war.
Yeah.
We are in a time of insane insane levels of peace. Like, it is disturbing level. If you look at the rest of history, and I was like, at some point, this is going to bounce back, and we are going to get this is going to bounce back hard.
Well, the other thing though, and this is a little bit of a modern development, and it's going to be kind of a hot take, but I think nuclear weapons are a fucking amazing thing that we have.
I agree.
Because if we didn't have those, World War IV would have happened by now.
Yeah, if not 5.
Yeah, like they're 100% what World War III would have been in the 40s or 50s.
The only reason Ukraine versus Russia hasn't completely exploded into World War III is because of nuclear weapons. The only reason that Israel and Gaza hasn't exploded into World War III is because nuclear weapons, because no major power, because the issue is with World War I and II was the series of alliances that would get triggered just dragged everyone in. Yeah. And so you had some random guy from India fighting in a trench in Flanders going, why am I here? Well,
I mean, it goes further back than that. Like, you get back to fucking Napoleon. One of the reasons that the UK got
Zero
because there was a treaty between England and Portugal from like the 1300s.
Yes,
and Portugal was like, "Hey, guys, we're getting invaded," and England's like, we've been kind of looking for a reason to stiff this bastard. Although one of my favorite little historical ironies is that the Duke of Wellington was Irish.
And see, the Irish would say he was Anglo-Irish because I've spoken to a few people and they do not claim him because it's like the Anglo-Irish.
Oh, my Irish friends claim the fuck out of him.
Okay, that's pretty based. The Anglo-Irish were seen because they were like the English who had mixed with the Irish natives. Which, fun fact, a lot of the troubles with Ireland would have been fine if Henry VIII had just not been a dick. Because Henry VIII looked at Ireland, noticed that the English colonists were becoming a little too Celtic, got mad and salty and said, no, we're going to enforce British, English culture. And then Elizabeth followed that on. So if Henry hadn't been a dick, you'd probably see a united British Isles. Because his policy set, especially a certain git called Oliver Cromwell, the worst human being to ever live in the British Isles.
Dude, fucking Cromwell is like up there with fucking Herod and Stalin in the manner of like, if you're a foreigner, you fucking hate this guy. If you're from that place, you hate him worse than the fucking foreigners hate that dude.
I despise Oliver Cromwell. On the night he died, there was a massive storm, and there was like loads of claw marks appeared on like doorways and stuff. And like the pervasive legend is that the reason the storm came was because the devil was so eager to get him because Cromwell had done so much evil shit, especially in Ireland. Especially like if you ask like the Irish their view of Cromwell, he is the most hated Englishman, and there's a lot of them for them to hate. But they're like Cromwell committed genocide before genocide. Like it was like if you go to like Chinese history or what the Romans were doing, there was a lot. There was an
I don't know, man. I think what Caesar did in Gaul fucking was probably the most complete genocide that ever happened in fucking human history.
I don't know. Cromwell did a number on the Irish. Cromwell,
but the Irish still exist.
Gauls actually don't. Very valid. I mean, Gallic tribes of Gaul definitely survived in some number because he had to subjugate someone. But that's probably
the only ones that survived were subjugated. And it was like 15% of the population. Like the other 70 or 85% was just blood.
And the only reason that he probably left people alive was because he needed people to kneel and to tax.
Yeah. Which is funny because on the flip side of that, it's like, dude, if you're a Roman, you fucking love that guy. Like so much so that the people that like, we're gonna go kill fucking Caesar. Everyone was like, all right, that was not a pro gamer move, and you have exactly 5 seconds to get away from me because that's how long it's gonna take for me to draw my sword. And it just happened that fucking Cassius was a faster runner than the rest of fucking Rome. Because like all those dudes got hunted down and fucking brutally fucking murdered.
Yeah, and then the second they were done killing the killers of Julius Caesar, Marcus Antonius and Octavius immediately set to killing each other.
Yeah.
There was also in this. People forget that the first triumvirate was like Kaiser, Pompey, and the other Marcus Crassus. Yeah. And then there was a second triumvirate, and everyone goes, "Oh, Octavius, who becomes Augustus, Mark Antony."
Yeah.
I don't remember who the third guy was. I regularly
he was a you need to be here for fucking political reasons. I don't give a shit.
You need to be here for the plot. You need to be here to like keep. Literally, he was there to keep the balance, and then the second triumvirate fell apart almost immediately.
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
and then you get the empire. But yeah, to wrap that around to what we were talking about earlier, we are at an interesting point in time where, historically speaking, because history does move in cycles, not always the same cycle, but like there's a fork in the road we always come to. Either there's going to be some large, wide-scale societal collapse coming up soon, or empires are coming back.
I think it's both. I think the next 200 years is going to be both. Because we are in a very unnatural state of humanity.
Yeah.
At the moment, where not to be like those gosh darn libtards, like liberalism as an ideology does not work in the human context. It's the same as hoping that communism will work. It's the same as hoping that capitalism won't end in corporatism. There is no perfect ideology, and the only ideology that humans manage to maintain with any frequency is imperialism.
Yeah, and that's going all the fucking way back.
And like, if you're watching the world, I'm not going to get too into the politics and that, because obviously, to name some of the players in that political game, YouTube does tend to get a bit upset. So I won't go into them too deeply, but yeah, all I would say to people is just pay attention, just keep watch, because the next sort of 40 years are going to be incredibly tumultuous. And yeah, I know the meme is, I wish I could stop living through historical events. There's many more to come. We're at the end of Pax Americana, as people say.
Well, think about this. Like, you can have that argument, like, well, it may be nice if I didn't have to live through a major historical event every fucking day. But let's just time travel a little bit. Let's say that you're born in, I'm gonna say 1898. You have an all right life growing up, and then either World War I happens at your fucking house, or you get drafted and you go fight in World War I. And you survive that, but then you have the Spanish flu, and you survive that. And then you have the Great Depression, and you live in a shack for a while. And if you're still alive after that, you get World War II that fucking happens. And same thing, either you get drafted or it happens at your fucking house. You survive that, and then so nuclear weapons are a fucking thing now. Neat. You're not 50 yet, by the way. There have been worse times to live through, and there was people that were alive that met those people.
Yeah, I mean, the last Civil War veteran died recently.
No,
like a few years ago.
The last Civil War veteran died in.
No, not veteran. Sorry, wife of the vet.
Oh yeah,
wife,
veteran. Yeah, or not veteran, a pensioner. Yeah, but that's because she was like 17 or 18 and married a 7-year-old dude, and then
which is, but it also, that does sort of breach the gap of how, because what is amazing to me is you have the Bronze Age civilizations, and they're there for a long time, and then you have classical civilizations. You got the Rome, the Han Dynasty, all these empires, and they're there for a long time. The classical era is there. Then you have the medieval period, which is kind of a regression, but also China's doing a bit better. But that happens for a long time. And then you get your Tudors, and then your Stuarts, and then your Victorians, and then they're here. And it's like, it's getting shorter. Like, the progression space is going from like 1,000 years a pop, or like 2,000 years a pop, to like 200 years.
Yeah. It's fun watching it fucking evolve.
Yeah. I'm gonna enjoy watching it from heaven with popcorn and not having to stress about making money. You'll be like, what? Who went to war this week? Oh, that's fine. I'm gonna chill on the cloud. I'm gonna get a recliner.
Yeah. Also, to wrap it up earlier to fucking World War Zero. I know that we're gonna have different opinions on this.
You're gonna like Napoleon, aren't you?
I fucking love Napoleon.
Fucking.
I fucking love that guy. Do you know how much of a fucking badass you have to be like, I'm gonna be the first emperor of fucking France, even though I'm not French, I'm Italian. And you know what? I think the Pope should be here for this because he crowns emperors, right? Hey, Pope, come over here. Come over here, Pope. Yeah. What's this crown? Oh, let me take that. I'm just gonna crown myself emperor.
See, I would argue that is an insanely blasphemous move because the Pope is meant to be like Christ's. No.
I agree. I agree with you on that, but also baller fucking move. Also, secondly, and I'm not talking about like whether or not it was just. I'm talking about the fucking pair of fucking nuts this dude was swinging around. The other one though is like, all right, so we're all gonna get together and we're gonna kick Napoleon out of Europe. So everybody gets together. They kick Napoleon out of Europe. We're gonna fucking exile you to this island. We're gonna exile him to this island. He's like, yeah, now fuck this. I'm going back. So he goes back to France, and then everyone's like, all right, so we're gonna go send an army to kill fucking Napoleon because fuck it. The army gets there, and he says, and I quote, "Your emperor has returned," and his army was like, "You're goddamn right, you did." And then they do it all again. Like imagine like Hitler round two.
They didn't do it. They didn't because the Wellington and the Prussians made sure to. And what was funny was because. And this is one of the many times that God sided with the British. That's going to upset a lot of people. But the many times God sided with the British. The Battle of Waterloo, it rained insanely, and as we know, rain is what. Yeah,
Napoleon only lost Waterloo because God was like, you know what?
I'm done with you.
Maybe not.
He was literally sitting there like, I gave you an island. We did the Napoleon storyline. We did this. I let the whole crown thing slide.
And then fortunately it didn't backfire. But the British, like fucking retards, were like, so what do we do to Napoleon now that we captured him again? Let's send him off in exile to some island somewhere. It's not like he's gonna come back and do this a third time.
I mean, we sent him to because the second island, I think it was St. Helena. The second island
was like way down,
like it's in the middle of. If you look at it on a map, it's like in the middle of the ocean by Africa. It is the remotest of remote colonies. Like I don't even know why we bothered having it. I think it was just there so ships could dock as a resupply on the way to America. Like it is so remote. That there was which is where the famous phrase comes from when people trying to break him out so he could do it a third time, like where the famous phrase, what do we do? He's like, oh, there's nothing we can do. It's because Napoleon realized he would lost. He had been defeated, and all because one, he had stomachache that day. Like, unironically, he had to be pulled off of the field, and his generals were... A lot of the times when Napoleon sent his generals to do stuff instead of himself, it went to shit. Because Napoleon had the mind, his generals suffered this affliction called being French. Yeah.
Okay. Making sure we're on the same wavelength there.
So, because he was a Corsican. Yes, because Napoleon was not a Frenchman.
No.
But so he actually had the military mind, whereas his generals didn't. So the second he was off the field, his generals started making mistakes. The general he sent off to fight the Prussians didn't realize the Prussians had wheeled around and there was only a tiny group. So he fell into a trap. And again, because it rained, he could not move the cannons forward.
Yeah,
he didn't get the cannons into position, which allowed the British to hold on for long enough for the Prussians to come in and just cavalry thrust him. Like, so much stuff had to go wrong because I am fully admittance, right? Even as though I like Wellington, I like Nelson, I always go on about Trafalgar and Waterloo. I am fully aware that Napoleon wins Waterloo if it doesn't rain, if his generals are competent, and if Wellington's position didn't hold.
Yeah.
Like, so much had to go right, which is why I'm like, it's very obvious to me.
Act of God.
Yeah, that Napoleon losing at Waterloo is an act of God. It's the same as Joan of Arc winning as much as she did. When I was younger and I was very patriotic, I used to dislike Joan of Arc because, French. But now I'm like, it is very clear.
You guys were fighting this, 30-year-long war?
100.
You're fighting a 100-long-year war with France, and you were winning, and then God was like,
I'm gonna give a random little girl. I'm gonna give a random little girl conviction, and she's going to lead the French to victory. And because the thing is, right, France then starts kicking the shit out of the English, right?
Yeah.
And then Joan of Arc gets captured, and the French betray her, and then everything goes to shit for the French. So that tells me random little girl comes up. All of her military engagements are massive successes. She's led in by the French. She is like she says she's got the backing of God and has the actual activities to back that up. Because like, unless she's a random peasant girl being a military genius, that is a long shot. Yeah. And then the second the French betray her, when the English actually capture her, like almost like God was testing and say, hey, I gave you this wonderful military leader. What are you going to do with her? Oh, you're going to betray her. That's an interesting fee, France. Hey, fun. Do you want to be occupied by the Germans in a few hundred years' time?
Well, no, it's kind of funny, though, going, again, back to Napoleon, but you get his fucking, what is this, his nephew, Napoleon III, and he's like, I'm going to do Napoleon again because I got his name. I'm technically related to him. Let's go start a war with, you guys are going to stop being about 100 different little countries in Central Europe and start being a Germany about it? Neat. Fuck me.
I mean, Napoleon III wasn't an awful leader, all things considered.
Napoleon III is where you start getting the meme. Do you know why they plant trees along the streets in Paris? It's so that Germans can march in the shade. He's the originator of that one.
He definitely wasn't a military leader, but he wasn't a awful ruler. He definitely did like some good reforms and that. He just, he decided to go to war with the people who had just like the Prussians had unified Germany, and the way the Prussians did that was like full blown Targaryen. If Bismarck had had a dragon, the entirety of Europe would have been under his wing.
I mean, it might have been better because you had like a strong German monarchy that wouldn't have dealt with certain other bullshit that happened.
Man, I wish Bismarck had taken over the German monarchy. I tell you what, also, I don't know if Harry Turtledove is still alive, but he's probably already if he is alive, he's probably already listened to those words and gone, I'm going to write an alternate history where Bismarck had a dragon. Have you seen that there's a Turtledove book, which is a fantasy book that is quite literally just World War II in a fantasy world. Like everything he does is somehow related to World War II. He will bring it back to World War II. Are you looking up if Harry Turtledove is still alive?
I will here in a second if I can get my damn.
I'm gonna see if I can go
to work.
Hang on. Is Turtledove still alive?
American author.
Yes, he is still alive.
Yeah, damn. Cool.
He's got new books coming out in 2025. How old is he?
Good for him.
He's 76.
I don't know, man. He's well within drop dead range, but he could also live for 30 more years.
Also, I just want to quickly say,
what's up, Doc?
I just want to quickly say, I think he's slightly older than George R.R. Martin, and he has new books scheduled for publication this year. George, publish the books, man.
I saw something the other day. There's a guy I follow on Facebook. He's another writer, and he pissed me the fucking hell off just because he had a better idea than I did. Because when I got done writing the Smokepit Fairytales series, I just talked a bunch of shit about George R.R. Martin on social media. But this other dude finished the series, and the last word in it is, "See, George, it's not that hard." And I was like, motherfucker, that was a good idea. I should have done that.
I don't know. What worries me about that, I did say to my girlfriend I was going to rant about George R. R. Martin at some point in this podcast, because I've been going on about, I've been getting more and more angry at him of late, because he keeps going, I'm doing all these projects and TV shows, and I'm like, cool, write the source material for them, stop getting sidetracked, and just give them the outlines of what you want them to do, because you make the source material, not the shows. That's not your job. It's kind of like where people are like, hey, what's a new YouTube video? And I'm like, I'm doing a reverse Martin, where I'm writing the book and ignoring my YouTube channel.
Yeah. Doc says, Your accent sounds like Earl Grey tea tastes like.
I don't know if I should be offended by that or not.
Well, I mean, like, no offense, but you are painfully British. Not even English. I'm gonna say British on that one.
No, that's offensive. No, I prefer
well,
English.
If you didn't have the mustache, we might have a different argument.
Yeah, I've been called French a lot because of the mustache. Because of the mustache, I often get called French a lot.
Yeah, but the gentleman in the mustache thing is not a French thing.
I'm going to upset a lot of Englishmen, but a lot of our culture comes from French aristocracy.
Yeah. Fun fact on that. I learned something recently the other day. Are you familiar with the Amish?
I am familiar with the Amish and the Mennonites, yes.
All right, so do you know why they have the beard but shave their mustaches?
Because Weird Al Yankovic made a music video.
So in the 16 or 1700s, when they left
Germany, or Netherlands.
No, Dutch. What are the Dutch?
Yeah,
what countries?
The Netherlands.
Netherlands. Yeah. When they left the Netherlands, there was still you didn't have professional militaries. You had, I am drawing mercenaries. Mostly mercenaries going around just like marauding. And if mercenaries aren't being paid by a state, they just go maraud because you got to get money somehow. But it was fashionable for professional soldiers, not professional mercenaries, to keep mustaches. So the reason that the Amish don't have mustaches is a protest against 17th century mainland Europe German mercenaries.
That makes sense because they're massive pacifists, aren't they?
Yeah. Yeah, like to the point to where like you can't draft them.
Yeah, there's like multiple cases and multiple wars where the Amish were like, yeah, you can shoot me, but I'm not joining the army.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie again. To go full circle, how we started this, and not to get political, but I genuinely found it so funny, right? That Biden and Harris pissed off the nation so much that the Amish, who have never voted in an election, said, "Mr. President, we're going to deliver you this election," and then became the deciding factor of Pennsylvania turning to Trump. Imagine pissing off the people whose entire thing is we do not get involved. Did you just like 2 cigarettes at once?
Mm-hmm. I'm a baller like that.
but like their entire thing is we are not getting involved in the real world. We are not touching that shit. But we're doing it like the words, "We will deliver you this election." Like that goes hard for a group of people that do not understand what aura farming is, do not understand internet culture.
Yeah.
Like, again, politics aside.
What's the meme, Brother Yoder?
Yeah, it's like, what is that? I'm just gonna vote. Also, the Amish, going back to accents to bring it around, because I've just realized we've been going for 2 hours, so we should probably start wrapping up. Also, just to say his name one more time because we've not spoken about him, Ramsey. The
character you played in the last couple books.
Yeah.
And no, there was another guy. Who's the space pirate? Because you weren't Klaus.
Fuck.
Was it Pasha? I had you be the Avalonian dude.
Did he have a name?
He had a name. He had a name. He just didn't have too big of a part. But I had you be him, and then the Avalonian Prime Minister, whose name I didn't say. I just said TRUD and then ... before he got cut off. And then someone was like, "Well, obviously this is Trudeau. I mean, he's a fucking giant cuck that likes to get fucking pegged by fat black chicks." Fucking pussy. And it was funny because you're like, all right, so I'm gonna have him talk like this. No, that's too assertive to be Justin Trudeau. I don't know why you thought he was Justin Trudeau, even though I only gave you half of his name. He was a prime minister of some like weird not England country.
Weird not England. Do you know what? Actually, that is the best other way to describe Canada. It's like not America and not England.
Yeah,
that's it. And then you've got the Quebec, who Imagine willingly trying to claim to be French.
I mean, there's more. Quebec is the more French version of our Louisiana, except for they're not trying to be like. The difference is Louisianans are like, oh yeah, our ancestors were French, but we're fucking Americans. As to where Quebec is like, we're separated from the motherland.
Yeah, and they're desperate for independence that they keep voting for and then like not doing.
Yeah,
I don't understand why, because if Quebec went independent, they would be screwed. Like, it's not like Alberta. Any Albertans, if you're listening, please, please go independent. And if you really want a shitpost, please join the United States, because it will be so funny.
fucking your buddy. Canada is the most pretentious country I've ever been to. Their French make me like the actual French. Damn.
That's brilliant. No, I don't know if we've wrapped. I mean, I was going to say, have we covered everything? But I think we actually may have covered everything. We may have gone over everything.
Well, I mean,
except what we needed to.
The original point was, hey, we're gonna talk about books. You played these characters. I really like the way you portrayed this guy. So the Bigfoot.
Shall we in the last let's give it, because we're 2 hours and I need to have a drink and maybe a bit more food. But so for the last sort of 10 minutes, maybe let's narrow in on good old Ramsey.
Yeah.
And like, yeah, I'm gonna miss. Wait, no. Do I have more Ramsey parts in other ones?
Mm-mm.
No, I don't. I was trying to remember.
No. Thatch killed him at the end of 5.
Yeah, that was it. I was like, I've done multiple death scenes now, and they sort of blur together.
No, but it is fun because it's like, all right, well, I got to sift through which one of these I want to use for the actual fucking soundbite, and the rest of these that could be like background music of some dude screaming while he's getting stabbed to death. What
is that like when you hear, like, because I know I get creative, and sometimes I like fully gargle like salt water to like make it.
Well, for me, it's almost like a parasocial relationship, except for I know the person.
Yeah.
And what I mean that way is, like, if you listen to like a song or watch a movie and you don't know, or like you're on Instagram or whatever, and whoever is making the music movie or, you know, Instagram posts, like, you're just like really invested in, it's like, oh, this is my friend, you know, blah, 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 whatever, but you don't know them. So you kind of get psychotic about it. It's a little bit like that, except for I know them in real life. So while I'm editing and listening to people, you know, do their lines, and almost everybody just bullshits in them anyway, which is what most of the blooper reels end up being. It's like, I get to hang out with my friends for a bit, but you know, it's very one-sided.
Yeah. Well, I suppose it's not one-sided. It's just delayed. So like, I'm yelling into the microphone, and then like 2 months later, when you're editing it, you just hear me going, "Fuck! Why did I pick fucking deep South accent?" There was actually a couple times where I deleted the recording because I was like, I can't let him use the blooper reel, where I'm just like straight up having a mental breakdown, like typing up the email of, I'm changing the voice. I can't do it. Like,
well, I mean, that goes back for a while, because that's kind of been the thing. Because what is it in the fourth book? I had you a scatter of fucking characters, but like one of them was that gay dude at the fucking arcade.
That I loved playing him.
It was like, you got a little bit too far into this, but you gave me like 3 or 4 different takes, and one was like, I'm gonna play this guy as a German. No, Germans are already gay.
Yeah, no, I remember that. I got way into that one, and then, like I said, like you said, I was better making German. I was like, nah, because that it's funny in my head that making a German guy gay is too gay and overkill.
Yeah, it's like gay plus gay.
It's like gay. I always imagine, like, especially when you get in, not to tangent immediately, but like most of Nazi high command was gay. Hitler tried to purge it. Like, that's why he killed off Ernst Röhm.
The Night of the Long Knives.
That's why he killed off Ernst Röhm, because the SA was literally just an entire unit of fascist gay guys. Yeah. And in fact,
wait, hold on. So fascism is named after the fasces, which is a tightly wound bundle of sticks. There's another word for tightly wound bundles of sticks. I'm drawing
guidelines. YouTube guidelines.
The British have a word for cigarettes or meatballs. That's
meatballs.
Similar.
Yeah. Why, as a Brit, you know, it's like when you want to borrow one, you ask, "Can I bum a fag?"
Yeah. and
I can say, and YouTube can't take that down because that is an actual
completely different things in the UK and the US.
Yeah. For every American watching, they're like, "What did he say?" And for every Brit watching, going, "Oh yeah, sure, mate.
We're gonna go smoke some fags."
Yeah.
and then you're like, "We're gonna go smoke some fags."
Yeah, mine's a lot more. Mine produces lung cancer. Yours is a felony.
Anyway, Doc's over here talking shit about Canadians, which
is quite funny. No, it's valid.
Oh yeah, no, and then Alpha, fucking best word for gay fucking Frenchman, baguette.
Baguette. Yeah, baguette. Baguette.
You got to give it that hard G in the middle of the word.
Yeah. You've got to make it sound like East London. Just give it that East London twang.
Baguette.
Maybe I should do. Maybe I should try you give me a character and I try a Cajun voice. I mean, I'll cry, but a Cajun voice, like, just and make it. It would be a horrific one after like 3 or 4 lines.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of a Cajun accent. Don't think I can do it on command.
Well, no spoilers for everybody listening at home, so this is gonna be very vague. But there is later in the books where a significant portion of the cast is French Canadian.
Okay, that's gonna be a fun one to twist my voice for. You need to hire you need to bring in the most un-French Canadian people to do it as well, just to make it funnier.
Yeah. It could be
there. Yeah, like very vaguely, no spoilers. There are some interesting accents from me coming up.
Yeah.
Did you notice the sort of Perry the Platypus twang in one of the voice audio recordings?
No, because I'm pushing 40 and I don't know who Perry the Platypus is.
It's from a TV show when I was a kid.
Yeah, but you're like what, 24?
Yeah, that's true. Well, no, I'm 27.
Yeah, I was close.
But the funny thing is I didn't watch that as a kid. I just know it from like internet memes, and I was like, that's the voice I'm gonna go off. I'm not gonna lie, a lot of my children's TV comes from like standardized British television, like CBeebies, Channel 5, and like CBBC. I didn't have any of the extra channels. I didn't have so I never got watching Dan Schneider foot stuff.
Well, I mean, it's interesting because like where I'm at in the age gap, like we had our own cartoons, but like still they were playing stuff from the fucking 50s and 60s. So like just as much as there was SWAT Cats, Captain Planet, Dexter's Laboratory and all that, there were still the Jetsons and Johnny Quest and the old Hanna-Barbera stuff that was still on TV while
I got the 80s and 90s cartoons because I was born in 97, so I got the end of that, and then I got the modern stuff. Like, thankfully, like I say, I didn't get Nickelodeon, so I don't have to live with the horror that some of my friends do. That they're like, I watched all the Dan Schneider shows. Do you not know what happened with the Dan Schneider stuff?
I do, but I stopped watching Nickelodeon before he got involved because I'm old.
That's yeah. You were saved by that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, because like Nickelodeon would have been what is it? Hey Arnold and Ren and Stimpy. They were Nickelodeon, right?
That was phasing out when I was. Yeah. That was phasing out. Like I say, I was much more. I watched a lot of Power Rangers. I watched Thunderbirds consistently, Stingray, Captain Scarlet. Like,
what's funny is we didn't get Thunderbirds over here, or if we did, it wasn't on any channels I watched. Like, I know what it is, but I was going to say, like, I've never seen it on TV.
Thunderbirds sounds like PG smoke fair.
The thing is Thunderbirds was G-rated Team America.
That's fair.
Like, puppets and everything.
Isn't Team America based off of Thunderbirds though, like the movie Team America?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Because that's where the I love the fact that the America, fuck yeah, that entire thing is meant to take the piss out of American patriotism, and I love the fact that American patriots were like, mine. It's like, no, you're meant to. It's telling you off. We're being mean about you. Nah, it's mine. It's the same as Far Cry 5.
Well, I mean, it's always been like that though, like all the way back to the beginning, because like Yankee Doodle went to town riding on a pony, like
Yeah.
that was meant as British propaganda to call colonists fucking stupid rednecks, and we were like, Yankee, yeah, okay, all right, cool, yeah, I'm a Yankee Doodle over here, fuck you. Take your red coat and march your ass that way before you figure out what a fucking homemade fucking rifle and a pitchfork does, jumping out of the woods. Like, yeah, a couple hundred years from now, somebody's gonna be like, welcome to the rice fields, motherfucker. But like before that, someone was like, welcome to Massachusetts, bitch.
I do love the fact that every time I've like dropped Yankee thinking it's a really offensive slur, because in the UK, in like in any part of the UK, you say Yankee, someone will be like, you can't say that about the Americans. That's really mean. You say it to an American, they're like, fuck yeah, I'm a Yankee. Unless you're in the South, and then they don't like being called Yankee.
Yeah, there's a different cultural fucking thing going on.
Yeah,
and it's kind of weird because like if you're from the South and someone from the North calls you a Yankee, it's like, well, I'm sorry. No, if you're from the South, you call people from the North Yankees as a fucking like regional fucking slur. But if you're out of the country, you also understand that Yankee is just a slur for Americans in general. And it's like someone calls you a Yankee, and it's like, yeah, but I ain't a bitch. Fucking insert slur for wherever. Like, what are English? Limeys?
Like, I think it's Limeys was the slur of the English, which is a shit slur.
It is.
Like, there's got to be an Irish. If there's an Irishman watching, what slur do you have for us? I'm assuming the Irish have a good one.
Yeah, or just fucking redcoat.
Yeah, redcoat. Fun fact: one of the hero in the story I'm working on, he's based off of King Arthur, but he's also so.
Interesting the way it works. You're writing a story about a Welshman, but okay.
Yeah, I mean, I've always been obsessed with King Arthur, but obviously this is set in the fantasy version of Roman Empire. Basically, there's a bunch of schisms that come through because of a big civil war between the orcs, because some of the orcs like God and some of them like the devil. And a lot of the story is based on the fact that the orcs come to Christ, which is like, because I wanted a real twist on the orcs.
That's a real weird way to talk about, Germans becoming Catholic.
Yeah.
But all right.
But anyways, when he goes to the Vikings, who are led by Harald Hardrada, who also comes through one of the schisms, because I thought it would be really funny, is the main reason that Christianity exists in this fantasy world is if Christian Vikings proselytized. Right?
Although my favorite thing about Christian Vikings is like missionaries went up to fucking, Scandinavia and Germany and shit. And maybe not favorite thing about, but like fun little tidbits. And, these missionaries were talking about like, oh, hey, so this is what happened to God when he incorporated. And they're all like, yeah, that's a damn shame, because if me and my boys were there, we'd have ripped him off the fucking cross and we'd have killed every goddamn Roman there. We ain't going to let him die like that.
Yeah. Right? I love the fact that like so many pagan lords were like, we're going to fucking like, we would have saved Jesus.
Yeah. Which on one hand, it's ironic because like Peter tried to do that and Jesus was like, no, this has to happen, man. But like the I don't understand the full context. Like, we ain't gonna let him do that. No, and it's not. We're not gonna let God die and sacrifice himself. We're not gonna let the Romans and the Jews do this to him.
Yeah. Well, can you imagine what Jesus's reaction would have been if if time was a bit different and the missionaries had got there a bit quicker, and so a bunch of like German and Viking dudes just rocked up and were like, "We're here to save you." Like, this isn't the plan. But no, the idea of the rough story I've actually got a lot more of the world building than the story done at the moment. Yeah. I know roughly what's going to happen, but the main hero, he travels to the Vikings, who obviously they have the coats that would be worn because the Romans weren't used to it. So obviously I have to be respectful of the history that I pluck the humans out from when they schism into the fantasy world. And so because Arthur is meant to become a Pendragon, he gets a coat from the Vikings, which is a red coat. So I'm going to have my main hero be Arthur of the Red Coat. In real world, that's because I find it funny. In fantasy world, it's because Vikings give him coat because it's his destiny to become the Pendragon. Like, and I just find it... Which is, I've noticed a lot of the times, I do message you, I think I've messaged you a couple of times where I'm like, hey, I've got this idea from the real world, and I need to figure out how to make it fantasy world logic.
Yeah. Which all you got to do is like fucking, daydream about it for a little bit. Maybe go read a fucking couple articles about XYZ or whatever.
I've been deep diving into
make it real.
I've been deep diving into like history and mythology podcasts of late, just like especially Song China and stuff like that. And like that's been giving me a load of ideas.
Yeah. No, but it's kind of funny though, because like on one hand, you know, as an American, I have a deep aversion to the fucking red coat because like England. Also it is a nice looking fucking coat. But also there's two things with this one, like, because like one, you know, we're blue coats and we have this long, illustrious, mythological fucking history about like why we had blue coats, which is all complete bullshit because we just got those coats from the fucking French, and it's actually the French's fucking, you know, like the Marine Corps dress blues. I can talk to you up and down about like why that's a Marine Corps thing, right? Like, so like the red stripe on it, you know, that signifies the blood that was spilt by officers and non-commissioned officers at the Battle of Chapultepec. The red piping on it is for, you know, the blood that was spilled while, you know, we were on ship, you know, blood got on the ropes. That's why it's red. There's 7 buttons because there's 7 C's, you know, entire fucking thing. But it's just kind of odd that it looks identical to the French army of the 1780s is fucking uniform. I'm sure that's a complete fucking coincidence. But it's funny though, because like under that though, in the American Revolution, the Marines didn't wear blue coats. We wore green ones. So it's also a complete fucking misnomer to fucking even talk about that in the first place.
Yeah. I was always remember when I used to play Empire Total War, I was like, what the fuck are these random green units? I'm like, oh, they're the Marines.
Well, green is the traditional color of the riflemen, and that comes from German hunters known as Jaegers in the 15th or 16th fucking century, because they were green because they were in the forest and hunting animals before they started hunting people, and green blends in better.
I wonder if Jaeger formed into Jägermeister. I wonder if that was what they used to drink when they were hunting.
Jaeger is the German word for hunter, and Jägermeister is German for huntmaster, and that's why there's a deer on it.
That doesn't make sense.
That is exactly that.
That does make sense. I can't drink Jägermeister because it makes me sick, because I was playing beer pong and I kept losing. So I had like 7 full cups of a drink you're meant to shot. And it was like by the 7th cup, I was like, I am down in cough medicine. And I feel very.
I have a long history with Jägermeister, because I used to hate Jägermeister, and then I loved it, and then I started hating it again. But like I got a tolerance for it. So I had a buddy that only drank Jägermeister, would not drink beer, would not drink wine, would not drink liquor, only drank Jägermeister, and he fucking got killed in Afghanistan. So to honor him, like, you know, every month on the 28th, you know, we'd have a shot of Jägermeister. He's dead for a month, take a shot of Jägermeister. He's dead for 2 months, take 2 shots of Jägermeister. A year later, fucking like we're all just like chugging Jägermeister in this dude's memory. And it's like, I fucking hate you, Ralph. Could you have drank Coors? Please. Wait, Jägermeister. It had to be Jägermeister.
You're just like 20 deep, and you're like, I don't know how much longer I can do this.
Dude, no, it got to the point where like Jägermeister didn't fucking do anything for me. So like I would start the night by chugging a fucking Jägermeister, and then I'd start drinking beer just to like get drunk after that. So you're just immune to it now. I'm immune to Jägermeister is what I'm telling you. Well, actually, I don't know. I haven't drank it in a few years now, so it might be fucking different. like on his anniversary, I go to his grave because it's around here. Other story here in a minute before we wrap up. We said we are going to wrap up 10 minutes. We said, yeah, but but his grave is maybe only 2 miles away from my house. So every year, like I'll go there and like leave a shot of Jägermeister, but I won't drink it. It's like, I'm going to get you the little shooter and put it here. But the reason I ended up there is because at his funeral, I got blackout drunk because half of the attendants were, you know, Marines that, you know, flew in, and his family was Catholic. So, I don't know if you've ever been to a Catholic funeral. If you're sober, you're wrong. And that's the end of that fucking sentence. So I got blackout drunk, came to making out with somebody on the back of a car, And then I was like, hey, you want to get breakfast later? And now I'm married to her. So so it's like my wife and I have talked about it. It's like, so when we have kids, we have to lie to them about how we met, right? So yeah, at least until they're 18.
Yeah. It's a little meet. You got to come up with an imaginary meet cute, like just like, oh yeah, no, we was in these pretty gardens and we just bumped into each other. Like we dropped an envelope. It was like Love Actually.
Yeah, not. And my wife's story is a little bit different. She was almost blackout drunk, and I was the only person that smoked, and she wanted a cigarette. How did we? None of us know how the fuck we got into whoever's car that was, but.
And it's quite funny. Before we wrap up, Evan said, "Oh shit, the Nickelodeon foot thing that explains so much about me now." And what the fuck is a Pendragon? Very quickly.
King Arthur's fucking name.
Yeah. Very quickly, Pendragon is basically the title of the king of the Britons. So a lot of people think it's his surname. Pendragon is the title of the king.
Yeah,
basically.
But we don't have a king. We're a commune.
I fucking love that scene. I love that scene so much.
Trollops handing out swords is not a valid way to form a basis of government. I don't have to use trollops, but trollop is just an English word I'm imagining for skank.
I think they say bint or something. Bint is an amazing word. I love the word bint. It's so powerful. It's not actually that rude, but it is very. It's got a real punch to it.
I also like strumpet.
Strumpet's good. Yeah. We've got a lot of slurs for women in the English language.
Well, I do think it's funny that like you guys call them birds and we call them chicks, and it's like, okay, so we have some like weird avian thing for females.
Yeah. That's your next book. Instead of green ladies, you need bird ladies. I'm covering lizard ladies and cat ladies in mine. So you like
actually fucking before we get off, I do have to plug my next book, which comes out November 3rd, but it is available for pre-order now. And it's without giving anything away. You have to give a little bit away because like no one's gonna go watch anything if you don't know what's going on, but it's kind of like Gundam, and it's kind of like Top Gun, but it's super Catholic from the point of view of Lord Jesus Christ, have mercy on me, a sinner. Like the characters aren't good Catholics; they're Smokepit Fairytales levels dirty fucking sinners, but in Gundams.
Is it in the same universe?
It's in the same universe, but if you read the Litany of Vice and you didn't read Smokepit Fairytales, you wouldn't be missing anything. And then also, if you read both for whatever reason, if you were able to read both at the same time without having mental bleed over, you'd kind of have to put the pieces together to be like, oh, okay, this is in that universe.
Is it kind of like, because Brandon Sanderson does that, where he's like, Brandon Sanderson, like his books are, he has this weird multiverse thing where like characters bleed over and some story aspects are the same, and like so all of his stuff is in the same universe or multiverse.
Yeah,
like they don't really cross over.
I think of it like Tarantino in the fact that, or in the manner that Kill Bill and Pulp Fiction are in the same universe.
Yeah. Apparently his films, so there's two universes. There's the main universe of his films, and then there's a second universe, which is actually the universe of films that he makes for the characters inside his films.
Yeah, so like Kill Bill is the movie series or the TV show that Uma Thurman's character in Pulp Fiction made. Yeah, like that.
Which is absolutely unhinged and wild to me, but I'm like, that's brilliant.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. But on that, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for tuning in. Fucking History Daddy, thanks for showing up and having a chat. And now we all get to bore you about like when the fuck are you going to get back on YouTube, bro?
I mean, you bullied me into getting the book done. You can't. I'm only one man.
There's this thing called multitasking. God gave you two hands. Use them both.
I am. So obviously, I'm working currently on working title Glamoria: Age of Prophecy. That is the book, or the first book. But the YouTube video I'm also working on is the Serbian bottle incident. So, which for those of you who don't know, it's when a man shoved the bottle up his arse and it triggered the end of Yugoslavia. It's not even exaggeration.
I wouldn't imagine it was. But ladies and gentlemen, thank you for hanging out. Everyone else, you have a good night. What time is it in the UK right now?
9:45.
Oh, so you guys actually do have a good night.
Yeah.
Everyone else, have a good afternoon.
God bless.